welcome back to those who are already here, which is at this point just Chris. Hi, I can see you.
So, officially, this is episode 1 of the ThinkFast Nerdcast. I got it right this time. You probably didn't hear the first one because we deleted the video, but that's okay.
Joke's on you.
So, so here we are. My name is Chris.
And I'm Syed.
So, this is episode 1.
This podcast, really the purpose behind this is to just reach out, connect, and talk about the nerdiest shit you guys have ever heard before. I'm pretty sure we're going to lose a lot of audience just talking about, comics, games, movies, and just life, actually, for us nerds. It's quite hard.
Yeah, I've already lost interest, so.
I'll just collect the money. Oh, wait, that's right. We're not.
We're not sponsored yet.
But anyway, moving on. So, top of mind.
For those of you who got that reference, nobody, because nobody is on my friends list from that group.
Legality rights.
So what I want to start off with in this case is something that I think we all can benefit from, and that's earning money. So 10 quick tips to become an instant millionaire.
Absolutely low cost, no risk involved
whatsoever. You know, it's if you follow these 10 tips, you're guaranteed to be a millionaire.
Pretty much overnight, we want to say.
Absolutely. So we will open up the chat right now. If anybody has those 10 tips, please let us know.
We would love to hear them. Any tip.
We're really struggling.
One tip.
We're struggling. I'm
times.
about to get evicted.
Yeah. So
probably
if you have those tips, tell us right away so we can use them and share them.
My landlord is literally knocking at the door right now.
Also locking the door with you out of it.
The podcast is over. That's it. It's done. I made my first mistake. We're out of here.
Yeah, it was a good run. 2 minutes.
No.
I like it. Okay. So, starting off, just a little bit of news here for some of the Marvel fans out there. We're not the only ones to start a podcast series, although in comparison, we're probably not even involved. Wolverine, Marvel has started basically a voyeur into the podcast media with their first show, Wolverine the Long Night. It's actually a scripted show done through podcast. 2 episodes are out. Stitcher Premium. I don't know if anybody's...
I only just recently heard of that, actually.
Yeah.
But it does sound like something worth checking out. I mean, I can't really say that I've listened to a lot of radio plays. I mean, maybe a little bit when I was younger, and I did enjoy it at that time, but... It's a very interesting choice because I feel like, you know, that's a very niche group of people that they're going for.
So let's see how that turns out. It's written by the guy who wrote Green Lantern and Teen Titans. Not really much of an impressive resume though. But, you know, let's see how it goes. So all the best to Marvel and their staff for trying this new medium. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, we have high hopes, so we'll see. We'll give it a shot.
Marvel's pretty good with pretty much what they do.
Speaking of Marvel, how about that Black Panther?
Oh, Black fucking Panther, mate. Oh, are we allowed to swear? I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're on Facebook. If I need to, I'll just edit it out later.
Young audience, family of mine that I know while listening to this, it gets a lot worse, just saying, so stop now.
Yeah, so for those young children who are in the audience, your parents are terrible people. They're probably getting divorced as we speak. I can hear the papers being signed, and you're adopted.
And the reason for the separation is, let's face it, it's too much.
I mean, there's no easy way to put it. It's just...
I mean, you listen to podcasts of 2 drunk people?
You keep playing that music so loud at night, buddy. I mean, Gary told you, and you just wouldn't listen.
Moving right past family scars. The other thing we want to highlight, actually, is just doing a little bit of research into, I don't know, those who still buy comic books. They are more digital now than ever. So, want to just kind of touch base onto what is hot right now. I personally have not followed too much, but it is there. Now, Batman is on the top 4 ranks. Like, it's held down by Marvel, basically. The first one is, I don't know those who know about this, but it's called Dark Knights, with an N, not with a K. It's called Dark Knights Metal, which really is about Batman in parallel universes being the villain. So
they did do something similar to that. I wouldn't say as a villain, but if you followed at all the Flashpoint series, what they did was spoiler alert, for those who haven't read it, first of all, a parallel universe where Flash messing with the time stream caused a parallel universe to get created where the origins of the Justice League are a little bit different, and Batman, as we know him, Bruce Wayne, is not actually Batman in this timeline. So again, spoiler alert to those who haven't read Flashpoint yet. What they actually do there is Batman, Bruce Wayne and his wife, Bruce Wayne and his mother were killed in the attack that previously killed his mother and father, and instead Bruce Wayne's dad, Thomas Wayne, becomes the Batman.
Wow. Just in the family, somebody has to be Batman in that family.
Yeah, I mean, and the interesting thing is through the Batman comics, one of the rules that Batman always had was he hated guns. He would never use guns, and one of the main things that Thomas Wayne uses as Batman is guns. And
twist.
He, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I read it, but I believe he ran a casino as well. So
the immoralist Batman ever. So that's my issue with kind of just sidestepping here and relating back to Black Panther. But that's kind of my issue with these recent comic plots, is that it has a lot to do with parallel universes, or so those are the comic books. A lot of it has to do with like parallel universes. With the movies that I found, again, spoiler alert to those who haven't seen any Marvel movies. Which, by the way, why? Like, what are you possibly watching?
Are you living under a rock, people?
Anyway, so with Marvel movies, it seemed like for a good streak of the movies, the villain was always some sort of alien who rips through the sky.
Yeah.
Or
Avengers.
Avengers, Guardians, but that's all about aliens. But the other
crazy robot in Age of Ultron.
Yes, and the other spectrum would be those who were, childhood friends, turns evil, steals part of the suit, like Ant-Man steals the exact same suit, bad guy versus good guy. Iron Man was like that too. So
yeah, Obadiah Stane.
Yeah, it's good to finally see Black Panther come out and sort of change that. It's not, I mean, again, spoiler alert. But
I literally, I don't think there's anyone out there right now that hasn't seen it. And if you haven't, too bad.
We should just
you deserve to be spoiled.
As a graphics on our live stream, we should just put that big graphic saying spoiler alert. But yeah, there's no aliens coming from the sky or a hole in the sky. There's no, I mean, it's different. It's good to see something a little bit more out of the usual plot line. So Black Panther, we'll get into the whole sociopolitical thing in a moment, but overall, great effects, great soundcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Soundtrack, sorry. Pretty much well written.
It was really solid. I mean, I've watched pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I've seen all of the Marvel movies, including even the ones that aren't part of the current canon, like the old Hulk movies, the old SpiderMan movies.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
See, that's another thing. So I don't want to get too much on the tangent, but since it's brought it up,
that's just how we function in tangents.
I liked the Tobey Maguire movies, to be honest. The first two. We don't talk about the third. It didn't happen. But the first two, they were actually quite good. I really liked them. Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin was actually really good. I mean, I think his over-the-top acting really fit the role. But, I never really got into Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, personally.
See, the thing, what I felt was when Spider-Man came out with Tobey Maguire, by the way, I'm rocking the Spider-Man 3 hairstyle right now. The evil Tobey.
Emo Tobey?
It's just because I can't afford haircuts. Anyway.
Sponsor us, please. We're struggling.
So I can look human. No, the thing that I liked about the Spider-Man movies is that it was kind of the first of its sort of style out there at that point. Like, there weren't many superhero movies when that series came out, so it was really cool to see the effects, the swinging. When Andrew Garfield Spider-Man came out, it was sort of in the heart of all of the superhero movies, right? So you've seen all the effects, all the cool stuff, so it wasn't really anything new. Plus, they just redid the entire story, so that's redundant at this point. We already know so much about him. Even before the movies came out, there's a lot of diehard fans. He's kind of a flagship character, so...
And, that's what I feel that is a problem with a lot of the Marvel movies, especially the early ones, is that... in the first movie, you always kind of have to shoehorn in the origin story.
Yeah.
So...
And, you have to cater to those that don't know, right? I mean... But see, Black Panther, it doesn't really do that. It expects you to know, which, ironically, not many people know.
Well, because the thing with that is they did briefly have... Civil War, that's what it was. Captain America Civil War.
Introduced him.
That's where they first introduced him and his father. And so they kind of gave you a slight introduction. I don't even know if they mentioned Wakanda really at all. I mean, they might have name dropped it.
The last ending credit, I think it was the last scene.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I mean, at least that kind of give you. And you know what? To be honest, I think that's kind of the way to do it, because I mean, Spider-Man was introduced during Civil War as well, before he had his own movie, and like everybody's seen the origin getting done to death. We've seen 3 different Spider-Men in this case, so I was happy that the newest Spider-Man movie kind of did away with that. They kind of assumed that you already knew how everything went down, so they had a lot more room for an original story. And one of the things that I really like about the Marvel universe is that it really has a good way of tying in all the movies. Like the technology that they were using in the Spider-Man movie came from the aliens that crashed in Avengers, so I enjoyed the tie-in.
It's all related, so it's kind of interesting that way. Speaking of which, new Spider-Man animated movie coming out. It's a 3D movie called Multiverse, just this July. It's about Miles Morales, so that's pretty interesting. By the way, the animation looks really cool. I'm really into animation. That's kind of what I wanted to be as a kid.
You wanted to be an animation?
I wanted to be an animator.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
And also a lion tamer, but we don't talk about that part.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those pictures.
But, so, getting back to what I was initially talking about, which I'm sure none of the audience remembers, is
so
how...
you can actually, if you want to make it easier, you can just move the mic that way so that you're reading at the same time and then talking right into it.
Thank you, Chris.
There you go.
He's also the tech guy.
I'm just seeing like the lines, and then like your wave lines are slowly getting smaller
Fading
and smaller.
Out.
And then I just want to...
That's just me in real life.
Just
mumbling and fading. Like my confidence. But last year, 2017, just sort of wanted to highlight the top 10 comic books that are out there. In case you guys are looking for some reading material, if you've read these, let us know what you think about them. If you haven't, let us know which one you're going to do first. But Marvel Legacy was the #1 comic book. It's the first issue. Okay, I think this is the one that's more of just like an encyclopedia of the history of Marvel. Okay. So it's kind of like, okay, whatever.
Well, I guess it's a good place for people who aren't really familiar with the lore to kind of jump in.
Yeah, and it ties all the timelines together, so you're not, baffled when their big flagship products come out, like Avengers. And it's coming out May or April. Tickets are up, by the way. Don't buy them. I'm buying them.
I think they moved up the timeline for Avengers.
That's
actually,
right.
if I'm not mistaken.
Really
but
exciting.
It's a good starting off point for people who aren't familiar with the Marvel universe. And then in this case, because of the fact that it feels like with Marvel and DC both, actually every 5 to 10 years they do one massive reboot.
I think it's their 20th or 50th year anniversary or something along those lines. So they're doing just everything, from, or just shedding more light to the beginning of it. So
yeah, and Stan Lee is just hanging on by a thread, man. Like that guy is like 100.
Isn't he facing a lot of like financial difficulty right now or something? I read something.
Yes, from what I read, it's that people are stealing from him. That was
yes.
That was
I don't know
the
why
headline.
I'm laughing,
but I guess anytime rich people are in trouble, any
guess.
opportunity. No. Well, I'm all for Stan Lee, and I appreciate his contributions to comics history and stuff like that. But it sucks, man. Like taking advantage of the elderly, regardless of whether they're famous or not. But, man, what are you gonna do?
That's true.
First world problems.
I know. But the elderly, I do sympathize with them. It's just, it's tough.
Yeah, it's rough, man. Like you see every few weeks or so in the headlines, you see like some video that someone's posted about someone beating up a grandma that's supposed to be there to like care for them and stuff, and
it's moment of silence and then moving on.
Yeah, we didn't mean to take this in a grim direction. So in the happy comic book land,
so Dark Knights holds this. Actually, they hold about 4 spots. They had 4 issues. All 4 of them are on the top 10. So it's ridiculous.
Wow.
It clearly shows that
Stacked
there's
deck.
Yeah. The other main entries there's 2 entries there for Secret Empire 0 and 1, which is Marvel's. This is basically where Captain America is working for Hydra. So dun dun dun.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, and it's another sort of Civil War kind of movie where everybody's comic, but everybody's teaming up to take down Captain America. We don't know what about that. Speculation for... Actually, I talked to a few people about this, and they said he's probably undercover because he's Captain America. He can never be...
He would never do that to us.
He's the only person who would always do the right thing. Like, okay, buddy. That's true.
Go jerk off on the American flag.
And you're Canadian. That's the irony. Phoenix Resurrection: The Return of Jean Grey. That's number 10 on there. So that's actually she's been a very popular character, but just sort of faded away or went in a very...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything about that character. Like, last I heard, she died, and then Cyclops was hooking up with, what's her name? Emma Frost, I think her name was. But, yeah, I haven't heard anything from Jean Grey since she turned into the Cyclops. Turned into the Cyclops, wow. Turned into the Phoenix and blew up.
That's a comic.
Yeah, this just in, Jean Grey turns into Cyclops.
I love the One Tree Hill aspect of it. Now, that was a really old reference to some of our younger viewers.
Yeah.
One Tree Hill was a drama, like a TV soap opera.
Might be on Netflix.
Maybe. And I want to say I didn't watch it. I know no one's going to believe me, but I actually didn't watch it. So anyway.
He watched it. I saw his history.
Oh, that concerns me in so many ways.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
All right.
Anyways, moving on.
So, yeah, these are kind of the main thing that are on the charts right now. This year, it's only been a couple months, but for February 2018, DC still ranking number 1 with 4 other comics. So they got Dark Knight's Metal issue number 5. They have this one really interesting issue that I actually do want to read. It's called Doomsday Clock with Watchmen and Batman.
Yes, with Dr. Manhattan. I have heard about 2. That, yes. That's very interesting. Well, it's good that DC's pulling something like that out of their hat because, Marvel's really giving it to them with the movies.
That's
so
right.
They got to make up for it in the comics, man.
I mean, Justice League. Ugh. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. So we need to take a little bit of time and talk about Justice League because some people out there might have missed the movie altogether, or some people just might not be aware of the circumstances. So here's the thing: with Justice League, ignored it completely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't blame you based on if you've heard other people talk about it.
I didn't because I don't have life.
So the problem with Justice League. So what originally happened was that Justice League was supposed to be a 2-part movie. Now, I'm not sure if they are still making a Justice League Part 2, but basically the main cut of the movie was supposed to be quite a few hours long, and something between Zack Snyder and the studio, if I'm remembering this correctly, they forced him to cut it down, and then Zack Snyder got off of the project altogether. He said there was a death in the family. I believe it was his daughter that committed suicide. So Joss Whedon had to take over, and when Joss Whedon took over, they reshot some crazy percentage of the movie, like 40, something like 40% of the movie was reshot.
Wow.
So...
Sorry.
He's got the podcast playing in the background.
Just checking, it's working. Great.
Okay, we're good. Fantastic. But yeah, like they reshot a big portion of the movie, and it really shows in a lot of areas. And did you notice the whole mustache thing with Superman?
Yes.
Okay, so for those who don't know, who aren't into comics or who might not have watched Justice League, and who probably aren't listening to this podcast, what happened was Henry Cavill, who is the actor who plays Superman in the movies, he after they wrapped filming for Justice League, he was doing Mission Impossible 6, if I'm not mistaken.
The new one that's coming out?
Yes, the new
Fallout?
one. So, yes, that's the one. So he grew a full beard and mustache for that role, and after Zack Snyder left Justice League, they realized they had to do some reshoots. So they had to call Henry Cavill back, but, Superman doesn't have a mustache and beard. So they said, like, okay, well, Paramount, who was in charge of Mission Impossible...
The Sharma House? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, my God. We're here all night, folks. So, so Paramount, who was doing Mission Impossible, they basically told the people who were doing Justice League that he's not going to shave. And DC told them, you know what, like, if we shave him, we'll pay to digitally add a mustache and beard back. And they actually showed them how they would do it and everything, and it actually it looked pretty good. Like, it didn't look Snapchat filtery or anything like that. Nope, Paramount said no way. So instead of that, what Warner Brothers had to do was digitally remove his beard and mustache. So
that's hilarious.
I don't know if you've watched the very beginning or seen any of that closely enough, but it looks like absolute dog shit. Like, it looks like somebody just digitally made him a new face. Like, okay, no, I'm gonna pull this up. Where did I put my phone? No, I don't know where I put my phone. That's lovely. Well, anyways, let me just take his for a moment, because this is. Oh wow, everything's on a delay. So I just realized when I tipped the camera, everybody got a shot of my fat gut. So that's fantastic. But let's see.
Scandals already. We're only on the first episode.
That's
Maybe
literally
10 minutes into this.
And that can't get cut out. So people are going to be replaying. I'm going to be a meme. I know it. That's it, man.
That would imply you're famous.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I would hope.
Well, that concludes the first podcast.
The next one will just be held by Chris.
Superman digital face. Whoa. He doesn't have the feedback on for the keyboard, so I can't even tell whether I'm pushing. So,
have you tried typing at night when your wife's asleep with feedback?
I haven't. I mean, my wife doesn't mind too much, but it drives my girlfriend crazy. So,
and then you wake up.
So take a look at this. Take here. Like, I don't know if you've seen this specific thing before, but like, just look at the chin.
Oh wow.
It is crazy.
You can
like,
see a little bit of a.
It is ridiculously noticeable. Like, I'm
hilarious.
gonna see if I can.
You too.
Oh, looks like your camera has. Let me get that back up. But let me see if I can bring this in front so that you guys can see.
Yeah.
That doesn't even look like a face.
Mm.
Like that. Like, I don't know if you can see, but he's got a huge butt chin, like John Travolta type chin. It's ridiculous.
Does he actually have a butt chin? I
mean, I
don't
don't.
know.
Not that I can
Never noticed the
recall.
man's face.
No, that's the thing. So, I don't think so. But so that was the scandal with Justice League, basically.
I mean, and amongst all of it all, that's a new sentence now. Amongst all of it all. Anyway, the Justice League movie was just not what it was hyped up to be. I think the delivery of it was a little bit lacking. It's just my biggest issue with it was that the characters were not anywhere near. I mean, Flash barely even knew how to run. He kept tripping over himself. He didn't know how to fight. Like, come on. And it was ultimately about Superman, basically. Every Justice League movie that is done is basically, it feels like a Batman movie with like supporting characters.
Yeah.
Cyborg was kind of, they could have developed it more. They could have done a lot more, but.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of agree with that, because I mean, we really didn't get a lot of introduction to the Cyborg character before he was just kind of dropped in our laps, and he, to me at least, he kind of came off as a whiny little, like, oh my god, I'm in a metal body.
Yeah, I hit my dad.
Yeah, I can't feel. No, I wasn't feeling his character personally, but.
So that was Justice League. For those who missed it. Now to never watch the movie again, you're really not missing much.
No, you were not.
So that's a lot of topic on comics, and DC and Marvel alone. Like, there's actually it surprises me. Back in the day, there was other comic book umbrellas like Dark Horse. Now,
yes,
things
Dark
like
Horse,
Spawn, and all that. Like, I liked all these other series, but now it's just so hard to find anything beyond these DC Marvel, and it's really. What do they do with it? They're trying to attract new people onto the series, and then they have those who've been following it since the very beginning. So,
can you just pass me that battery there?
Yes.
I'm gonna try and get your camera back up here. I'm assuming that's what might have happened. So let me just pop that bad boy out. We'll just do a big switcheroo. People can't see you anyways. Yeah.
The whole thing,
or? Just that, yeah, and then just throw that one in. I have a feeling that battery wasn't fully charged when I started it up, so. And we're good. Okay, let's get this bad boy back in action.
Oh wait, am I off the camera right now?
Yeah, you are off camera. Take a drink. Have a bite. All right, let's try and get Syed up and running again. Okay. Fantastic.
Chris and Syed will be right back after these messages. A word from our sponsor.
Okay. There. We are back.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Now let's move on to some segments that more people can relate to, not just those diehard nerds.
Like us.
A Life of a Nerd, a book we're writing.
Oh, see, I wasn't even aware of this. So some of this stuff I'm finding out just at the same time as you guys.
It's popping up as I speak, you know.
Chapter 1.
I think one of the biggest issues with nerds now, I'm not singling anyone out, I'm in that category myself, is the social etiquettes that go with interacting with people who are not in the same wavelength as you are. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Because I feel like being so obsessed with things really kind of narrows what you can talk about. Like, I feel like one of the most important things in life that I've learned is that you need the ability to converse with diverse group of people about diverse ranges of topic. Could be like philosophy, health, comic books, you know.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things I find in a lot of people who are just strictly into comic books this hardcore is that that's kind of all they can speak about. It really takes a lot to kind of bring them out of that, and that's one thing I would say for any one of you who not necessarily suffers but find it difficult to socialize. Now, I am an introverted extrovert, if that's a thing. But
well, if it isn't, it isn't now.
Yeah, so I mean, one of my biggest thing, it took a while because when I was a kid, I was just strictly into like Pokemon and stuff, so that's all I could talk about.
I think we all were at that age, to be honest. I had Pokemon, I had Magic cards, I had Pogs.
Yes.
Pogs was a thing. So,
but my advice to those out there who really want to meet new people and sort of socialize with new people, one of the best things you could do to yourself is just kind of read as much as you can. You don't have to be an expert. That's my biggest thing to you, is that don't feel like you have to prepare before you go out to socialize and meet people, especially different groups of people, that you have to be good at whatever they're into.
Yeah. Don't let anyone tell you how to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't, just because you only like to read Batman comics or you only like to read Superman comics, don't let other people say, oh, well, no, you have to read this or else, you're not a real fan. You're not a real comic book person. Like, don't let other people hinder your enjoyment. If you like to read just one type of thing, just do that thing.
And the biggest thing is be open. Like, I know a lot of people would not necessarily agree with what, exactly, like the same thing, Marvel versus DC. If you're a hardcore DC fan, you meet a Marvel person, that's a fight waiting to happen. But just be open. That's one of the things I would tell my antisocial fellows who are on the same page as me. Just be open. Don't master everything you need to do before you go out there. Just kind of ask questions and just go with it. Let people kind of have their own opinion.
Yeah.
Let them have their own, decisions, and you just sort of learn from them. You don't have to change people. That's my biggest thing. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can't change someone. It is what it is.
If they don't agree with you, they're not your enemy. Like, that's the biggest thing. It's not that they are with you or against you. They can be totally
People
opposite.
are allowed to have other opinions.
Yeah.
I know this may come as a shock to a lot of you. Spoiler alert. But not everyone's going to think the way that you do.
And they're not going to agree with you.
Oh, people are leaving the chat as we speak. That they did not like hearing that. It is clearing out.
There's people in this chat?
There's one or two, maybe, including you.
Oh, sweet. I'm back now. Okay.
You can see yourself again. How does it feel?
I'm just going to stare at this and elevate my narcissism a little bit more. Bear with me here.
It's going to be a real trippy experience, if this does take off and, you start seeing us getting shared around and stuff. But we'll
don't
see.
think I'm ready for that.
You don't want to get recognized on the street?
Oh, yeah, well, not yet at least.
I mean, not more than you already do.
After the haircut.
Yeah.
After a few sponsorships.
There was that incident with the cops, but...
Yes. Moving on.
So, other than that, we've covered some comic book stuff, some movie stuff. I don't know what kind of games. What have you been up to lately in terms of gaming?
One thing that I've been watching a lot and enjoying is the You Laugh, You Lose games out there.
Oh,
man.
man.
So that's something that I want to... Beyond that, PS4... I actually haven't been caught up at all, so I'll be honest about that. Anybody knows any good games? Now, so I guess we should introduce what kind of tastes we have. So, me as a player, I like games that are more into like a little bit role-playing games, so JRPGs, those kind of things. I like action adventures. But anyone know any good recommendations? I am looking for them. The last one I played was Persona 5.
That was a popular one, yeah.
Fun game. Really cool game. Really
so
cool.
The interesting thing about Persona 5 was there were a lot of people that were looking to live stream it, play it on YouTube and Twitch and whatever the case may be. And I can't remember if it was Atlas, which is the publishing company, but they actually sent out warnings to all of the YouTubers and stuff like that, and they said that don't stream past a certain day because they don't.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, they don't want spoilers going out. They want people to play the game. So they said if you post anything past this day, we'll issue a takedown notice and your account will get a copyright strike.
What about you, Chris? What kind of games are you into?
If you you can't really see it from this angle, but I got a whole bookshelf full of stuff that I haven't even played yet.
We'll bring it out one day.
Yeah, but I'm pretty diverse in terms of gaming. Like I've just recently gotten onto the whole PC gaming thing because I never really had a computer that was more powerful enough to run recent stuff. So I've got my PS3 there, my PS4, my 360, and my Xbox One. But what the last game I think that I really got into, I was playing Mass Effect Andromeda for a bit, but it did get a little bit boring, so I kind of stopped and went on to Cuphead. Cuphead was a big thing that I was playing for a while. That game is insanely hard. So
Cuphead.
Yeah, it's basically, it's kind of like a platformer mixed with a shooter, and it has 1940s animation style. So if you're looking to get into animation, it's a really good throwback. But it is insanely hard. Like it's basically a boss rush game where you just fight boss after boss. Like you go in between the levels and stuff. I'll probably let you try it later because it'll be interesting to see you try to beat just the first boss even. All right. But I was playing a lot of that. Oh, PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I know a lot of people are into Fortnite these days, but I haven't really picked that up yet. But I'm still on my PUBG. I used to play Counter-Strike a lot when I was a kid, but like to the point where my parents started to wonder. But not so much these days. I'm kind of out of the first-person shooters. I feel like I really don't have the time to just sit down and go through a match.
The good thing about me when I was a kid was these first-person shooter games, especially these massive multiplayer games that are so lit right now.
The Calls of Duties and the
Calls
Battlefields.
of their duties and all that. So a lot of people are into it, and I know a lot of people who are really into it. I tried to get into it as a kid with Counter-Strike. I was so horribly bad. I got laughed out of the gaming cafe. So because of that trauma, I've actually never been into it, which kind of benefits me because I don't sink in a lot of hours into it. I know people who do. No, nothing wrong with that, but it's not like I do anything better with my time. I sink into JRPGs.
Podcasts.
Like Persona 5 was 90 hours. Oof. And I would replay it again if I wasn't allowed. If I was allowed to. My wife took away the PS4.
Oh.
I'm kidding. Near Automata.
I have heard of that. Isn't that a sequel?
And you don't need to play the first one to get this one, but it's, I don't know, I lost interest in it.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of games now, they just focus so much on the way that it plays and the graphics and all that they kind of miss the plot line, which is huge for me. I'm into plots. Like PS1 and PS2 will forever be the best RPGs I've ever played in my life.
Well, the reason for that is that the PS1 and PS2 era, they did not have multiplayer. I mean, multiplayer was you're sitting on a couch with your friends. They didn't have online. I mean, PS2 got online maybe like in the last 6 months of its lifespan. And even then it was, I think it was just Final Fantasy 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. But that was like a separate MMO altogether. It wasn't part of the game. Like now every game has a multiplayer facet to it. Most likely it will. So. And
that's the thing. And that's why the focus these days is not so much on story because it's an interesting business model where you kind of just build a game and you let the players make the content. Like you throw a bunch of multiplayer stuff in there and then you just say, okay, here's all the maps you have. Here's all the modes you have. Go ahead and do whatever you want. But to me, and I agree with you completely, that story plays a really big part, and it's the games that have a really good story that I really get into and stay with. Because the most recent one, Metal Gear Solid 5, I
haven't beaten it. So
it's it's fantastic. Like I could not put that down. I mean, Hideo Kojima is a mastermind. Like he just whatever he touches turns to gold, and like it. Personally, the low point in the series for me was Metal Gear Solid 2, but we won't get into that. But Metal Gear Solid 5, I feel, really brought it back.
By the way, Hideo Kojima is out of the whole thing altogether. So
they Konami kicked him off his own game.
Yeah, and that's why Metal Gear Solid 5, a lot of people played it. Now, I haven't played it all to that point, but they said the ending is really bad because it's really rushed because he got kicked out and he had to just wrap it up.
And that's the thing. Spoiler alert, but there's no real ending. Like you pass a certain mission and the credits roll.
Oh, like that's terrible.
Like that's it. Like there's no closure whatsoever. Oh, like you get a tiny little epilogue mission, but it really feels like there was another whole half of the game that was still meant to come. And that's the rumor, basically, is that they got cut like maybe 3/4 of the way through production.
And
so
that's 60 hours down the drain.
Yeah, literally. So they actually, when they re-released it as the deluxe edition, when it came with Ground Zeroes as well, the first part of the game, they had a separate disc, I believe, that had basically one of the unfinished levels, and it was like 80% finished. Some of the cutscenes just weren't completely done, but like it was pretty massive story content. Like it was one of the storylines brought to a close. So they were in the progress of making a lot more stuff for that game, but I think Konami just pulled the funding and said that's it. I mean, to be fair, Hideo was probably given a budget and did start to go over the budget. So on one hand, I kind of see from that perspective, but the game really did suffer. You can tell that it just kind of.
And now the new one that's coming out, I'm forgetting what it's called right at this point, but it's supposed to be like a tactical thing.
Yes, it's Metal Gear Survive.
Survive, that's the one.
Yes.
I was going to say Savage, but Survive, yeah.
So I would play a game called Metal Gear Savage, let me tell you. I don't care who's on it. If it's called Metal Gear Savage, I'm going to check it out.
Well, they had the other one, Metal Gear Rising.
So that Metal Gear Rising Revengeance,
that
that was kind of a spin-off. I played a little bit of that.
Kind of like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta
yes,
kind of game.
It was exactly.
But it was very. It was low production because you could tell just by the Okay, so this is the one thing that I realized. I don't know if you guys do this too. It's just me, but if I'm playing a game and the environment that you're in, like the stage that you're in, if it's got like gray, drab walls and just like no texture, atmosphere whatsoever, I will really, hold that against the game.
Yeah.
For me, texture and environment is equally important, but.
It is, and that I had a similar complaint. It's like it feels like an open world, but there's nothing to do. There's nothing there. There's no NPCs. It's all just these enemy robots. Like, there's no life to the game. It's really just go into this place, kill everyone. Go to the next place, kill everyone. Yeah, that's it.
And so, especially those games, like Nier, sort of a victim to this. But Metal Gear Rising is that every stage you go to, it looks exactly the same. It's just a gray corridor. Really. Yeah. Like, okay. That's a lot of.
So I'm literally just playing the same stage over and over. Yeah, all right.
Just now I have to jump twice instead of once. That's great.
Excellent gameplay.
Yeah.
And then they have the whole problem these days of recent games, and it's been a lot in the news and stuff of loot boxes and pay to win, where you pay like $5 and they give you like 100 million in-game currency to buy all those weapons that you would have had to earn.
Weapons,
it's crazy, man. Like, we're getting to the point where it's gonna be like pay $2 if you want to jump. Like,
and that's kind of the issue with mobile games right now. Like, if you play any games on your smartphone, it's literally you grind and you wait 24 hours for one thing to finish so that you can get to the next level.
Candy Crush.
Or you just pay truckloads of money and you can buy stronger characters, stronger gear, and just beat the game. So it feels like there's no point to the game.
Yeah, really. There's no real accomplishment because and it's those kinds of games where like those are just meant to be time waster games. They're not meant for you to be sinking money into it. Like, you play and then when you're out of lives, stop playing.
Yeah, and like I've seen some people sink in hundreds and thousands of dollars into these games. Like those are the kind of people who hold like there's a ranking and they're the number one spot. And the only way that they have that, you look at their profile, they have all these things that they've obviously bought.
Yeah. It's funny actually. I used to have friends who I used to have friends. But
coworkers like me.
Back in the day, Farmville on Facebook used to be huge. So you would have people who would be planting their crops and literally they'd be setting their alarms to wake them up. It's not
to optimize the time.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
At 7 a.m. they'd wake up, they'd harvest their crops, start over, and then go back to sleep. Like, it's crazy. They wouldn't get up for work, but they'd be setting their alarms for their crops.
That's a lot of commitment. Actually, now I want to bring a bit of good news to those who actually do play cell phone games and smartphone games. There's this app, not again sponsored, so I won't brag about them too much. But
Not yet.
It's called Mist Play, M-I-S-T Play. It's actually pretty cool. They have some games on there. It's like basically like an umbrella, and then within that, you play certain games that they have partnerships with. Like, there's a couple Star Wars, Walking Dead game.
Yeah.
Whatever. So you earn points in those games, and you earn points in this Mist Play profile of yours, and then you can redeem that for prizes, like actual cash prizes.
Yeah, you were telling me about this.
Yeah, I recently got a $10 Visa gift card after spending about, well, let's see, actually, it tells me right here. 25 hours.
That's not. I mean,
For $10.
well, when you think about it, like
I mean, I
even
would have
if
sunk those hours anyway.
exactly,
right? I'm playing
that's the
games
thing.
and I have no life, but
it's
at least now I'm making money out of it.
it's a lot different. Like if you're trying to sit there for 25 hours, then there's a problem. But like if you're going to be playing the game
Span of
either
like
way,
a week or a couple, or like 10 days.
yeah, and that's kind of like the Carrot app that everybody's talking about these days, where I think you get scene points for working out or exercising.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of a good incentive, I'd say. Like good on Scene and Cineplex for promoting health, because with all the shit that they sell at the theater these days, you're gonna need
$20 hot dog.
Oh my God! You say that, but like literally, by the time that you buy popcorn and a drink, like it comes out to the same price as the ticket.
It's true.
It's crazy, man. Like I remember back in the day. This is way back in the day. So I'm aging myself right now for sure. But at
guess how old he is for $100.
Not from us, but someone will give you $100.
Sure.
But back at Scarborough Town Center, right before they closed down the old theater. They used to be showing movies for $2.50, and at Fairview Mall, when they took the Cineplex out and they put in Rainbow Cinemas, it was $4.50 for a movie. And
I remember that as well. For those who live in Mississauga, mostly brown people, there's a mall called Air Mills Town Center, and they had a theater. It wasn't Cineplex; it was something else.
Yeah.
At that point, there were multiple theater companies, but
yeah,
and it was. Matinee
AMC.
shows, Tuesday shows, they were actually like $2-3, and I used to
Yeah.
watch some of the. My first movie I ever watched that was based on my choices was Pokemon.
Well, I won't fault you for that. I think
My future faults me for that enough.
I can't even. I don't even remember what the first movie was that I saw in the theaters. I think. Well, the first one that I can remember seeing in the theaters, I think was Jurassic Park 2: The Lost
Nice.
World.
The first one that I remember ever seeing, this was when I used to live in Dubai. It was Independence Day.
Oh, that was a good
that was a
one.
movie.
Oh man.
It scared me at that point. I was young.
I was so hyped for Independence Day as a kid. Like I loved all those movies. Those were fantastic. Like, and then so when I was younger, my parents had a friend who we would always go and stay at their cabin from time to time, and they would all fall asleep, and I'd be left awake by myself. So I would just be watching like HBO and TMN and things like that, and things I'm not supposed to watch. So I'd be watching all those like R-rated movies that nobody would ever let me see. So that's why I really got into like Terminator and all that kind of stuff. Like all those 90s action flicks, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon. Like I love all that kind of shit. Like that's the stuff that I grew up on. So it's crazy.
Those are good movies.
Yeah. Classics. What do you like to watch? What's your genre, would you say?
Okay, so my genre typically is very diverse. I will watch literally anything, but I haven't seen Punisher, but I want to see that, all the way to like This Is Us. And Brown Racism coming out. I do watch those as well, so those who know Bollywood, we can talk later. But no, I actually want to give a special recognition to This Is Us. Like, I'm not one to watch dramas, but this one is really good. It's a lot of people tell you it makes you cry.
Oh yeah, I've had so many people say that.
But not like depression. Like, okay, I don't know if you've seen 13 Reasons Why.
I haven't yet. Okay. It's actually in my queue, but I haven't watched it yet.
So that was like, okay, that makes you sad in a bad way. This makes you sad in a good way. It's really heartwarming about family, so definitely watch that. But beyond that, I've just been watching a lot of movies, none good, that I want to talk about right now. Annihilation was the last one I saw. Okay.
Oh, how was that?
Interesting.
Okay.
A very confusing ending, like M. Night Shyamalan.
Because I saw the trailers and stuff, and it looked interesting, but I never, it didn't really hook me. So I recently saw Game Night.
Oh yes, okay,
with Jason Bateman and all
that was it.
Rachel McAdams. It was really good. It was like really, really, really good. I would highly recommend that you see it. It was hilarious. You think it's straight comedy, but it's really a pretty good action comedy mix. There are some pretty good action scenes, and props to the directors because they did a really good job. Like I know it's tough sometimes for comedy directors to break into other kinds of things, and like Jordan Peele. Like my goodness, Get Out, that was fantastic movie. Really good movie. Like never would have expected that from someone like that. Like someone who's like, if you see literally any of their other videos, you would not think that that's what would happen. But
yeah, it's really good though. That was a great movie. I saw Shape of Water.
Oh yes, the one that won like 82 Oscars.
Yeah.
Like nobody else bothered to show up.
It was a good movie. It was a good movie. I really like Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo.
But his best movie has to be Pan's Labyrinth. I don't know if you've seen that.
I
but
do.
that
I
was
own it on
really
DVD.
good. Oh, nice.
So I did quite enjoy that. Now, I know a lot of people will argue with me on this, but I did enjoy Blade 2, which was also by Guillermo del Toro.
I didn't know that.
It did have a lot of things wrong with it, but it was one of those movies where, like, you know, seeing Blade jump backwards off the motorcycle and chop vampire's head off, it was for a kid. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, Guillermo del Toro, he's another great guy. He actually was working with Hideo Kojima on a new Silent Hills game, but once Konami booted him out, that unfortunately got canceled.
That would have been an epic game.
Yes, we never got to see it. Ugh.
But Shape of Water was good. I wouldn't say it was the best movie. It was interesting and everything like that. It kept me hooked, but it wasn't, honestly, like, I've seen his work. Some of his work is a lot better. But I'm just happy that he got finally an award because he deserves it. Several. And he hasn't really gotten this kind of review before for his other movies. So either way, it's just good to see him recognized. Wrinkle in Time.
Carry the podcast for 2 seconds.
Wrinkle in Time is one that's out, but I personally haven't seen it. It's got a lot of bad reviews, I've heard. So that was something that I like these kind of movies, some Disney movies with a little bit of heart in them. Mostly because I've been starting to watch a lot of kids movies lately because I'm going to be having a child. We're expecting in June. So I've been trying to get my head around ultimately being a father potentially soon. It's a journey. I feel like it's a lot of adulting in one night when you realize that you're having a baby. But so some of the things that I watch, like I watch a lot of kids movies, and I've been listening to a lot of Nursery Rhymes.
And this was all before he found out that his wife was pregnant. So
now I have reason to justify it. So that's good.
This is retroactively he's saying this.
But one thing that's really weird. I just went over the nursery rhymes that I used to hear as a kid, and some of that stuff is really messed up.
Oh, it's pretty dark, man.
It is. Like, honestly, now obviously it didn't, I don't know what kind of psychological effects it's had on me. I mean, obviously there's something wrong with me. Maybe that's the fault, but
you and me both.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really necessarily feel comfortable singing those to my kids. Like, Ring Around the Rosie. Yes. That sounds very innocent and perfectly harmless when you first listen to it, but it's actually about I'm forgetting what it is now, but
I'm pretty sure it was the plague, if I'm not mistaken.
That's exactly it. And people are like, when they say all falls down, right? That's what they say, I think.
Yeah, and it's Ring Around the Rosie, pocket full of posies. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the superstition was if you keep posies in your pockets, it's something to do with either the smell of the posies counteracts the smell of all the dead people. Yeah. Something along those lines. But dark stuff, man. Like it is. I don't know why they ever sang that to us as a kid.
And like Humpty Dumpty falls down, he dies.
He cracks himself.
He cracks open, dies, and I think they have him. They eat an omelet. The Knight's men come try to put him back together. They can't, so they just eat him. Like
I see. I didn't hear that part of the nursery rhyme, but that's
and then they all had
alternate ending.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, like I mean, some of the stuff is just really really awkward. Itsy Bitsy Spider. I never knew what his deal was. He's trying to go up the drain and rain comes, washes him out. Like
he's trying to get up that spout, man. Yeah, he's still
with an adult mind, with a dirty adult mind.
This is just Syed. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast.
I probably should not be on a medium to hold this down, but it's just I don't know, maybe. And then now, like the next generation of stuff that kids are watching, these are like I have quite a few nephews and nieces, and they watch. They got. What used to be Sesame Street for us is now like Paw Patrol and all that shit. So
yes,
I don't know. I really, maybe I'm just overly critical of it, but I don't really like kids shows because it's always really questionable.
Yeah.
One good thing out of it though, Coco. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I have not, but you know what? I have gotten quite a few recommendations about it. So
it is a kids movie, yes, but for adults, it's equally fun to watch because it teaches kids how to deal with death. And
really?
In a very, very like nice way that you remember those who passed away and you keep their memories and all that. So it's a very hard topic, and it does come up in parenting that
Yeah.
the kid will ask you like, what the shit's up with that?
Yeah.
So
Where's grandma?
yeah, so
that's tough.
and
I'm
how
not looking
you-
forward to that.
how you address it really does, it can either scar the kid or really teach them about, and they need to know, it's just the circle of life, right? So
Yeah, it sets the tone, I guess.
Coco, yeah, so that's kind of what I would give props to Coco. Everything else is okay, like the animation, all that, the story's fine, but
Yeah.
the message behind it is really cool. So if you have kids, check it out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of good animated movies out there, man. Like, I stopped watching animated movies after a while because, like, to be honest, it's not really my thing. But whenever a good one comes up and someone recommends it, I take a peek. Like, I just watched Up for the first time, like, a couple months ago.
No?
Yeah, just a couple months ago. And it was,
It's a
man,
cute
like,
movie.
I almost cried my eyes out.
Yeah,
like,
it's-
that's,
a hard-hitting
and that's a
movie.
kid's movie.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Like, talk about scarring kids for life. You're going to die alone. Like, oh.
And your house doesn't fly.
Yeah, sorry to break it to you.
One good thing.
Yeah, either that or you're a fat kid and you're gonna end up selling cookies.
Yeah,
Or
stay
whatever
away
the hell he
from
was doing in that
old
movie.
white men.
Yeah. and they're gonna try to pave over your house to build a condo or something.
Yeah, it's true. So, that's pretty much it for the movies that I've seen that are actually worth talking about. I've seen quite a few others, but
There's a lot of garbage, that's for sure, that we won't give the time of day.
Yeah, and I'm not the easiest movie watcher, so a lot of you could be out there saying, you know what, go shoot yourself in the face. Coco was a shit movie. I love Justice
Kill
League.
yourself.
Like, I'm sure that a lot of people would disagree with some of the thoughts that I have. I just view movies very critically.
Yeah,
And any loophole or anything like that kind of gets to me.
yeah.
On that note, actually, Chris, let's talk about what your favorite movies are
Ooh.
ever of all time. So this is a
Ever
question
of all time.
subject to the change, of course, but I think my number one movie, I'll just take over, whatever.
Yeah.
I asked you, but I'm answering. Snatch has to be my number one favorite
Ooh,
movie.
that's a good one.
Yeah, just
that
'cause
is a good
it's-
one. Have you seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels?
Yes.
Okay. Also a good one, but I prefer Snatch to.
And Rock
between
and
the two.
Rolla is also another one by the same guy whose name I'm
Yes.
forgetting.
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie. He's awesome.
I actually met him at TIFF one year.
No way.
Yeah, he was there for Revolver. So Revolver is a movie that did not get a lot of play and a lot of popularity.
Jason Statham, right?
Yes,
No?
and the version that is on home media is not the version that was at TIFF. So yes, they completely changed the ending.
Oh.
Completely. So if you haven't seen the movie, watch it. Definitely, it's worth a watch. It is a little bit confusing in some parts, but what I would say is watch the home video version. You'll know that it's not the TIFF version if it ends with them talking about chess.
Okay. I don't think I remember the ending, so I'm gonna rewatch that too.
After you watch that, just go on YouTube and just look up Revolver original ending, and you'll know you got the right thing if it's like an all kind of bluish shot. Okay. So it's worth a watch, but definitely Snatch is up my top 5 for sure. I'd say it's probably number 5.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was hilarious. It was action packed. I didn't expect a lot of the stuff that happened. Brad Pitt was hilarious.
Yeah.
Jason Statham was just starting to become popular at that point, I think.
Yeah, he was fairly new, and it was good to see him in a non-actiony role where it's actually he has to do a little bit of acting in it. So that's good. It was a really smart movie, I felt, for that time. Other ones came out by Guy Ritchie was Man from U.N.C.L.E., I think was the most recent one.
Yes, I saw that one. I couldn't really get into it because I never watched the old show.
Yeah. And I just like the direction that he does.
Yes.
Similarly following that path is the guy who's making Kingsman. They're shot really well. However, the story is really weak. So
well, it's based on a comic book, if I'm not
yes,
mistaken.
Correct.
So in that similar vein, Wanted.
Visually
very
really
stunning
cool.
movie, but content and plot wise,
and the effects
little
were
murky.
good too. Angelina Jolie.
I love. So here's my
I like
problem.
how you phrased it. Visually stunning. Yes.
Here's my problem with Angelina Jolie in this case is that Cote's in the Cote's in the fucking.
Okay.
Oh man, he's never gonna talk to us again.
Yep.
But no, here's my thing about Angelina Jolie is that she is as thin as a fucking piece of paper. But I loved her when she had weight.
Wait.
Yes, Steve, you're the only one watching. Thank you for rubbing it in that we have no friends. But no, she she used to have a lot more weight on her, and I don't know. I'm not knocking anyone with an eating disorder or if she had any health problems going on, but like new skinny Angelina Jolie, I'm not really a fan of. Tomb Raider Angelina Jolie, I loved. What were the other movies?
She was good in the time. Like I guess it was in her prime. Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. Gone in 60 Seconds, where she was blonde, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
Oh,
her movie Changeling. Actually, good movie. Not a lot of people saw it. Not a lot of people know about it. It was a good movie.
Yeah, I did see it, based on a very interesting story.
Yeah.
Where, for those who haven't seen it, spoiler alert again, but
don't watch the show if you haven't seen movies.
Her kid, I believe, goes missing,
Correct.
And the cops, in an attempt to, wrap things up, grab some random kid
and just give it,
and just try to convince her that that's her kid, even though it's not. And really cool hilarity ensues. So,
in a very heartstrings jerking, depressing way.
Yeah, so that's our Angelina Jolie tangent.
Yes.
But yeah, the guy who did Wanted, Timur Bekmambetov, or some weirdly pronounced Russian name, he actually did some movies before that called Night Shift and Day Shift that were actually quite good. They're worth checking out. Night Shift is very good. Day Shift, but visually they're fantastic. Like they look amazing. The effects, everything, they're just shot really well. But for favorite movies, so I'll start with the easy one because number one on my list for me at least is Fight Club.
Okay. Yeah.
David Fincher. I love David Fincher as a director, but the reason why Fight Club is number one for me is it did something that for the first time that no other movie had done for me up to that point, and it was I was not able to predict how the movie would end.
Yeah.
Like
the
completely, yes.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if other movies might have done it before that, but to me that was the first movie where, again, huge spoiler. Yeah. If you haven't watched Fight Club, stop listening. Or if you care about watching Fight Club, stop listening. But then please come back because we need the viewers. So at the end, it turns out that they're the same person. Like, I mean, I know spoilers big for a lot of movies here, but A Beautiful Mind did it as well. I'm pretty sure A Beautiful Mind came out after Fight Club, though. So Fight Club to me was the first one where it really, and there were little clues throughout the movie, but when you're just watching, just to watch it, you're not picking up on that stuff, man. You're just trying to follow the plot. So it got me.
He had a lot of good movies too. I think one of the movies that he did is The Game.
Yes,
that was a really cool movie. It didn't get a lot of and who did Seven? Brad Pitt, was that?
Seven was David Fincher as well.
David Fincher,
yes.
Right? Yeah, I thought so.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like his movies. It's really twisted.
And he
really cool.
directed the first couple episodes of House of Cards as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Not seen that show.
Really? You haven't seen House of Cards?
No, wait, sorry, House of Cards. I was thinking Dr. House.
Oh.
That's just
You haven't seen House either?
I haven't seen House. I've seen House of Cards.
Man.
I saw just 2 seasons, then I just sort of lost interest.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Kevin Spacey just
diddled a bunch of people. And
then
we don't talk about that.
I mean,
next thing you know, we're gonna get slapped with a lawsuit. We can't do the podcast anymore.
And the 2 viewers we have. Sorry, Steven.
So Steve has a question. Cote, he was asking about Day-Night Shift. He was asking what the premise was.
If we told you the premise, it wouldn't really have a point in you watching what we recommended.
It's been a while since I've watched the movies, but from what I can recall, Night Shift, it was basically, your classic story of good versus evil, light versus dark. There's 2 groups of people, and the main guy is a member of like the kind of police force of the dark. Okay. And what happens is these people from the dark try to cross over to the light. So there's basically 2 levels of existence. There's the light, which is just regular Earth, and then there's the dark, which is kind of the place underneath Earth, but it's still it's like Earth, but all dark and ashy and shitty looking. So they can kind of cross over, but when they cross over, his job is to kind of hunt them down and send them back to the dark. But it's just beautifully shot, like the way they portray the dark Earth. It looks fantastic, and there's more to it than that. Obviously, I'm simplifying it a lot, but it's Night Shift is definitely worth a view, at least.
I should check it out. I haven't seen it either.
It's in Russian, if I'm not mistaken, so you might need to watch with subtitles.
Why I haven't seen it.
Yeah, or dubbing, but dubbing sucks. Subtitles are way better. But anyways, so a little bit off topic, but so Fight Club was my number one, definitely. Um, it's literally probably anything by Christopher Nolan would be in my top. But if I had to pick one, I'd say Inception.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I loved Inception. I thought it was shot beautifully. The plot was fantastic. It kept me hooked from start to finish.
And I really liked the ending as well.
Yes.
So much debate. Almost like the blue black versus the white gold dress kind of thing.
So those are so all of those kind of fall under one genre, but something a little bit more dramatic. I really liked those kinds of movies that kind of have an indie drama feel, like Place Beyond the Pines, Blue Valentine, Garden State.
There's a movie called In Bruges.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
That
so I don't actually know a lot of people who've seen it, so that's probably why we're friends, Chris.
Yeah.
But Colin Farrell is really funny in that movie, and it's really interesting. It's really heartwarming-ish kind of thing, but it's really cool.
It is like, you think it's going to be either a straight up comedy movie or a straight up like kind of an action thing, but it's really neither. There's comedy aspects, but it's really a kind of a dark story, it's very plot heavy. It's very scenery heavy. It's very nicely shot. I think Martin McDonagh is the name of the director, if I'm not mistaken.
You're like an encyclopedia, aren't you?
Yeah. Movies are my thing, I'm telling you. He also did Seven Psychopaths, which was not so great in my opinion, but he more recently, something that you would might be familiar with, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, that was actually a great movie too.
So same director, as In Bruges. So check out In Bruges if you haven't seen it. That's Bruges, like for Bruges,
the city.
Yes, the city.
I think it's safe to say that our taste is very into like trippy movies. You know what I mean, with plot twists and all that. So. I'm trying to think of genres outside of that, so it's a little bit more relatable to our 3 viewers.
Cote said Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which actually was a really good one as well. It actually revitalized Robert Downey Jr.'s career, because that was when he was
just coming back.
Yeah, from all the drugs and the alcohol and rehab. Nobody wanted to hire him, so they gave him a shot. It's interesting
to see how that movie plays out, because it's kind of like keeps you guessing. You don't really know exactly. You know to an extent what's going to happen, but it's just how it plays out. It's really interesting. It's really fun.
Yeah, it reminds me of Lucky Number 11, which also a movie that
I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of it wasn't very popular, but it's all right. Okay. It was Josh Hartnett and Bruce Willis. Josh Hartnett's not doing much these days since Penny Dreadful, but it was all right. But it had that kind of similar feel, where kind of a comedy action flick with a little bit of mystery, and you kind of don't know where the story's going until the end. So worth checking out, maybe just on a day if you've got nothing to do, but good stuff other than that.
Other top 5 movies that I have seen now. Okay. It's something that it's not my top 5 whatsoever, but it's a recent movie I saw. It kind of scared me. I'm really into horror movies these days.
Me too.
So I saw the most recent one I saw was Veronica. It's on Netflix. It is a subtitled movie.
I haven't watched that yet, but I want to.
One thing I want to disclose and just ruin it for those. I don't know, maybe it might get to you the way it got to others, but there's a lot of hype about how this movie's like the scariest movie. If you look up Veronica, you see news clippings of like people stopping it halfway because they just couldn't do it. Blah blah blah. People with heart attacks. No, it's creepy.
People are literally dying
as we write this article, and my colleague died. No, like it's not really that scary. I found Lights Out scarier. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't. I've seen the trailer, but I think I have it downloaded, but I haven't watched it yet.
It is a good movie, just because it's I feel like a lot of movies now that have horror elements to it, if that's their genre, they really use the surprise factor to just kind of jump out and scare you with loud music.
Jump scares,
as they're called by
anyone. Yeah, anyone who watches movies.
Those who can come up with words quicker than I can.
I love your shirt, by the way. I just noticed it.
Just as adulting. Yeah. So jump scares, as the pretentious colleague of mine just said. But no, it's true. They focused a lot on the atmosphere, the drama, and then all of a sudden a burst of really loud music.
Yeah.
And there's nothing really there. Like, I've seen a lot of horror movies. Hollywood kind of is a big victim of this, or the player in this kind of scare tactics. It's not. Yeah, so whenever I see something that actually has a scary monster or scary being or whatever, that really gets to me. So Lights Out was kind of like that for me. I don't know if that worked for you, so let us know.
Yeah, I mean, let us know what some of your scary movies are. Something that scared you, maybe as a kid, even, because I feel like a lot of the things that traumatize people came from their childhood.
Well,
when they watched.
I'll say Jaws is
That's
the
a
big
big
like
one.
anyone you talk to born around the 90s and 80s
Yeah.
would say Jaws. I'm afraid of sharks.
Yeah.
It's like okay.
So my ex, she actually had a phobia of sharks. Now, when I say phobia, I mean phobia. I don't mean just like, oh my gosh, get that shark away from me. No, this was like, you show me a shark, I will punch you in your face, and I will run out of the room.
That is
like,
a phobia.
So even
like even on
so
Google
just to be
images, and
literally.
stuff?
So
okay.
that's it's funny you mentioned that because me, being the dick that I am, we were
an ex. You said,
yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
I guarantee you, she won't be listening to this fucking podcast. So, but no, because so. It's I was talking to her about her fear, and she was kind of telling me about it, how her parents let her watch Jaws when she was younger, and that kind of what gave her the phobia. But what so I asked her, I'm like, is it even pictures that do it for you? Stuffed animals? She's like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it looks like a shark, it's going to do it for me. Wow. So I was like, oh my God. Like, and she's like, yeah, it gave me a fear of going in the water. I'm like, well, what would you do if there was a fucking flying shark? Like, she's like, don't even talk about it. So I said, yeah. So I sent her a picture of a very shitty photoshopped shark with wings on it.
Wow.
And she didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. Like, literally, like, she wouldn't answer my texts. She wouldn't answer my calls. Like, oh, it was a bad. And then she really laid into me the next day. Like, she fucking went off. But and to be fair, like, she had told me that was her, like, I guess it's you shouldn't take it lightly when it's an actual phobia.
Yeah.
Because, like,
you don't know how much it gets to that person.
Yeah.
So speaking of phobias with the women in our lives, or were in our lives, see, shark is something relatable. That's like that, spiders, that kind of thing. You're like, okay, a lot of people have it, right?
I have a phobia of a shark if I saw one in the water too.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So my wife has a phobia of rabbits.
Oh,
which is
I
really
need
hard.
To know. What did she get bitten as a kid?
Yeah, so there's a backstory now, which is even funny because I used to have a rabbit back when I was a kid. I loved him to death. So I love rabbits, except I'm allergic to them, so that's weird.
Oh, yeah, they're so cute.
I was at a 13-year-old who bought a rabbit, named it Hip Hop. It was a brown little rabbit. It was my life, and then I had to give him away because I was dying. He was killing me slowly.
Oh,
moving on. Yeah, tough childhood. Anyway,
inhaler?
Huh?
And did you need an inhaler? Like,
it was
pills?
just itchy eyes, so I couldn't the dander and the fur. So now I know as an
dander.
adult. So cats, rabbits, anything like that, it just my eyes go crazy and I start choking up. So she has a fear of rabbits because when she was a kid, a fat cousin of hers sat on a rabbit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and she literally saw it die, and now that is like not like 10, 12, but like 5 and younger. So really it kind of scarred her.
Yikes.
So now she thinks that whenever they look at her and they got those red eyes, that they're kind of like plotting a revenge on her. Oh my
god! So she can't watch. She can't watch Holy Grail then. Monty Python.
Oh, that's her nightmare. That's literally a nightmare.
Steve says she's terrified of them procreating everywhere.
That is also true.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Actually, speaking of this guy, Steve. So he, you bought a comment here, Steve. The Machinist was actually a really sick movie.
That
Christian
was
Bale, like you've never seen him before. Like
he lost. Twig. Yeah, like they were talking about this actually because I think he filmed that between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. So he had all the muscle from Batman Begins and he had to lose it all for The Machinist. And
then sort of build him back up.
And exactly. So what they did was they shot the last scene of the movie first because he had all the weight on. I don't know if you can recall, but the last scene of the movie where he was driving. Normal, yeah. But they shot that first, and then he lost like 150 pounds or some crazy thing, and then he built it all back up for Dark Knight. So he was saying like I think he said he ate like just an apple a day, literally just an apple.
I would actually die.
It's crazy. Like I couldn't for a movie. Fuck that, man. Like I like food too much for that.
It's true. It's true. It's kind of the reason why I can't diet. So my philosophy on losing weight is eat whatever the heck you like, and go to the gym. So actually work out. Like, do the equivalent exercise of it. But
Yeah.
Stop eating? No.
Yeah,
No,
it makes.
that's torture.
I mean, it makes sense. Like it all depends on what kind of a if you have a medical condition or whatever. Because I mean, obviously, if you have diabetes, you have to watch what you eat sugar wise and things like that. But I mean, if you're just the average person and you just like eating shitty food, then just go to the gym.
Just because I think not eating is not the healthiest way to go about it. Because
No.
then you're gonna be out of energy.
Yeah.
It affects you mentally and all that. So work out instead. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
Eat and then go work out.
And it's so easy to say that while I have my gym membership swinging from a keychain, which I haven't gone to in like 6 months.
Paying them for the
But-
last 2 years without stepping in, I'm their best customer.
Literally.
Like
That would be awesome. Like, can we get paid for us to not provide services to people? Like, that's fantastic. That's a
That
great
is,
business model. Like, we should just open up a gym and just don't have any equipment.
And only
Just
sell to
have
those
people
we know
just
won't
an
come.
empty space.
Yeah.
People sign up. Well, actually, we will need like the equipment because they come for the first day or the first week and then they stop. So we'll move all the equipment in. First week, we'll keep it. Then we'll sell all the equipment and people will keep paying us.
And we would specifically cancel all memberships to those who start a New Year's resolution to be all built and buff. That's literally 1 month's worth of exercising, and then it's just down the drain.
So that's the tactic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Target
so,
those who know won't come.
So that's step 1 of the 10 steps to becoming an overnight millionaire.
Scam
So-
people. No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Come up with better ideas.
Yeah. we're still waiting on those suggestions. So
I don't think we have yet catered to the millionaire community just yet with our comic book talks.
hey, the disclaimer says Nerdcast.
Yes, that's true.
So-
That's true. Okay, so we talked quite a lot about random shit that really doesn't. The whole conversation was actually movies, so I don't know where we kind of got lost halfway. I don't think neither of us named 5 movies that are top 5.
I think I named 3.
Yeah.
So I think I got 2 closer than you.
You're winning.
But you know what? Like it's tough, man. Like there's so many movies out there, and to have to narrow down a favorite.
Yeah.
Like I'm such an avid moviegoer that it's tough because like if you look at my Blu-ray collection, it's a little bit crazy. Like I've got a little binder of movies behind me
If
here.
you look at my Blu-ray collection, that's
Yeah.
like the stuff he says to women at a club.
Want to see my Blu-ray collection?
So
Get in my van.
the issue that I have that I really want to see is more content in movies. A lot of it I feel like is just remakes and reboots
Oh my
and
God.
replays of some sort, or like
Yeah.
a sequel to one that really shouldn't have a sequel. Like that's my biggest gripe with Annabelle and
Oh my God.
the other part that's Conjuring.
Yeah.
So when it was first made, it didn't have a sequel. Like it wasn't made to be part of a sequel, but
Yeah.
just because it did well, they had to write all this extra plot. It's still a good movie. Conjuring is actually really scary. Annabelle not so much at all, especially Annabelle Creations.
Yeah.
Did not find it scary whatsoever.
No, it's just I feel like the doll stuff was done with Chucky.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. It won't ever come back to that kind of scare. Like
And-
it doesn't stick.
And that's the funny thing is that I feel it did work within The Conjuring, like when it was a part of the Conjuring movie, but as a standalone full 1 hour and a half movie, not so much.
So I really want to see Hollywood come up with new content and new movie arcs and storylines. So
Good fucking luck.
yeah, it's just they're redoing books.
Yep.
They're remaking comics now. Marvel's huge and everything like that. So
So the trick is, in this case, because there's no more originality in Hollywood, if you make a movie or you write a book or even a short story, maybe even a poem, eventually they're going to run out of ideas and they will
It's gonna
buy
come
they'll
up.
buy your book, they'll buy your poem, they'll buy whatever it is, something that you scrawled on the bathroom wall in 1996, like that's going to be a movie.
Yeah.
Like Dick Butt, that's the next movie that's coming up.
I think the new. Well, I mean, one of the movies I like that was sort of original content. I don't know if it was based on a book or not, but Bright.
Oh yes.
That was actually not a bad movie. It was pretty interesting, but
Yeah.
same sort of idea with the buddy cop thing. One's new to the role, one has been there for a long time, doesn't believe in it, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
actually, it was funny. I was having a conversation with my family that I watched it with, so it's easy to kind of point out. So there's different races, right? There's elves, there's humans, and there's orcs.
Yeah.
Now, it is a huge commentary on racism. So it's very easy to switch races between orcs and elves. So it's kind of like I won't spoil anything. I want you guys to watch it and kind of come up with who you think the elves represent, like which kind of race, and who the orcs represent. But
Black people.
that was one of them. We had a lot of debate about which group of people that is. Like at one point you're gonna think they're Hispanics. At one point you're gonna think they're Muslims. So it was a good show. Good movie in that sense. So check it out if you haven't. It's original, so that helps.
A lot of people were shitting on it, and I'm not sure why, because I haven't actually seen it yet. But David Ayer directed it, so same director as Suicide Squad, which also a lot of people shat on, but I thought was quite good.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Suicide Squad got a lot of hate, and there's. So here's the thing. I don't agree. I'll put that out there.
Our first topic of disagreement.
Okay. I'll put that out there first. I don't agree with the hate that Suicide Squad got. I thought it was fine for what it was, a comic book movie. Like, what do you really expect?
That's a second tier.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're not working.
Superman.
Exactly. So that's why they had to put Batman in. They had to put Joker in for a bit. Harley Quinn obviously was the breakout star of the whole movie. Yeah. But like, who's gonna know Rick Flag? Or like, who's gonna know what's his name?
The guy who throws the
boomerang, Captain Boomerang.
That's his name. Okay, so that didn't require much. I got one word right. Okay, so
that's the thing. So we were really working with like almost C-tier characters from DC.
And these are like really scraping the barrel at this point. I mean, not really. Suicide Squad is a huge arc in the comic books, but again, for those who are not into comics, this is really just villains.
But here's the thing, in the comics now, so I always get Suicide Squad and Secret Six confused because they're both groups in DC Comics. But if I remember correctly, Suicide Squad Deadshot was part of it.
Yeah.
I don't think Harley Quinn was involved at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Bane was part of Suicide Squad at one point.
I think he was. Not the initial starting off, but eventually he does come on board. Yeah.
And so on the topic of Bane, anybody who's seen Batman and Robin, Batman and Robin with
sorry, Bane is in Secret Six.
Secret Six.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could be in Suicide Squad. I don't know.
So I knew it was one of the two, but Bane, I think, is a character that was really mishandled. I think Tom Hardy did pretty good.
He did.
So the funny thing about that is they actually had to re-record the dialogue for Bane. Because
no one could understand.
Exactly. When the trailer came out for The Dark Knight Rises, they played the clip of Bane talking, and it was literally like, and people were like, what the fuck is he saying? Like, oh my god, this movie's gonna be garbage. Like, I can't even understand what the villain's saying.
Willy Wonka meets Darth Vader.
Yeah, it's like people were like saying, I hope this is subtitled. Like, this is subtitles for an English movie. But so they had to Tom Hardy had to re-record his lines. Yeah. So now they're much. So I heard both versions. This version is much better.
Okay.
But I feel like Bane in Dark Knight Rises was the best version of Bane that we've seen thus far.
I mean, compared to what we have to compare it with is the one in the Batman and Robin. Yeah, so
with
that
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Freeze. Yeah. Chill out.
You need that chill, Batman. No, so it's not really much to compare with, but I would agree with you that it was a really good real life comparison of Bane. Like, it's really in the comics looks really cool because he's this jacked up big guy.
Yeah.
But if you were to actually do it in real life, you would end up with what Batman and Robin did. So it's good how they kind of portrayed him. So it was a good movie though. I liked it.
Oh yeah.
My issue with Suicide Squad. Okay, so I think Suicide Squad did. Okay, I think a lot of the hate that the Suicide Squad got was because what was hyped prior to it.
That's true.
Jared Leto was like told the media or whatever that he's trying to be as good as a Heath Ledger, or he's trying to be the next Heath Ledger. So, that when you set the bar that high, it's something you're not gonna do well, considering he didn't even have much role in the movie.
So that's the thing, they cut 50% of his scenes, and that was part of the So here's the thing, a lot of people were shitting on Jared Leto as the Joker. Now I do feel he went a little bit over the top, but I don't think it was a shit performance. Like,
I feel like if I didn't know all that before I watched Suicide Squad, I would have been like, okay, that's actually pretty cool Joker. His laugh was on point. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, but because they built it up so much, and then you heard all these news about him throwing used condoms and dead rats, like, you're like, that whether you want to or not, it really biases you one way or the other. So my issue with Suicide Squad as a movie was that it started off great. It had a lot of like cool graphics and animation, and it was really funny.
Yeah.
But then halfway, it just kind of started going down a little bit. So I lost interest in the second half. First half was well done.
Yeah, my problem with Suicide Squad was that the villain was not very relatable and not very like so what makes a good villain in a movie is that you have to kind of somewhat understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So that's what like even movies that have things like aliens invading from another planet, like you get what the goal is. The goal is to take over the planet. Yeah. Their planet is eats resources or whatever the case may be, like. And I think that's what Black Panther did really well. Is Killmonger is a great villain because you really sympathize with him. Like,
and that's actually my issue with the new Star Wars too.
Yes.
I feel like Star Wars needs a new villain. Something like Darth Vader was the best villain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and Darth Maul.
Darth Maul was really cool.
Was a close second.
Not many people. Well. True Star Wars fans talk about him, but nobody really talks about Star Wars the first episode for other reasons. But Darth Maul was actually the best part of the movie. But I feel like the new Star Wars really needs a new villain. Kylo Ren is not.
Is it just me or is Kylo Ren a fucking pussy, man? Like I don't want to be I don't want to be the only one to say it, but like he's a real emo kid. Like I don't like Kylo Ren's character at all.
He's just
it's just ugh.
There's no cool factor about it. They even parody him with his mask right in the beginning of, again, spoiler alert. Oh god, just plastered it somewhere and like. Yeah. Right here, you're supposed to spoiler alert. Change the name of our podcast to spoiler alert.
Literally, the spoiler alert podcast. That's it.
But, maybe about half hour into the movie, the Snoke. Sorry.
Emperor Snoke.
Yeah, so he calls him out on the mask and he breaks it, and you're like, okay, that was probably the coolest thing about Kylo Ren is now gone. So, Star Wars was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. The action sequences and the way they've done the effects now are really impressive. But it needs a villain.
It really, like, if they're, I don't know where they're going with episode 8, would that be now, or 9?
9.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
the
6,
new one to
7,
come out
8,
would be
9. Okay, so I don't know where they're going with episode 9, but Kylo Ren is not going to be able to carry episode 9 as the villain. That's too much. Now, what I will say, what I did like about the most recent Star Wars movie was the scenes where him and I can't remember the girl's name. What's her name?
Rey?
Yes, Rey.
Okay.
Kylo and Rey, when they're having those moments where they're in each other's head.
Yeah.
I really liked those scenes. Like, that made me really kind of sympathize with Kylo Ren. But, oh my God, speaking of Star Wars, what the hell did they do to Luke Skywalker? What did they do to his character? They turned him into some smart-ass little shit.
Yeah, and literally, he's the most consistent character in the whole series. Like, you see him as the first few episodes were about Anakin, but then the whole thing is about Luke building up, and now he's just this person who doesn't want to do anything at all Jedi related. You're like, really? Like,
yeah, like he they even tell him that his sister is in trouble.
Yeah.
And he's like, eh.
So Kylo Ren is emo on like the teenage side. I feel like Luke is emo on the elderly side, where it's just like, I don't care about anything, these damn kids.
That good darn Star Wars talking about their Jedis and their sister pain. So let me tell you about one other little nitpick that I have with what the fuck was the name of the movie? Star Wars. What was the subtitle?
The Last Jedi.
Ah, that's it. I keep thinking Force Awakens, but I'm like, no, it's not Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. So one of my big nitpicks with the movie is, again, huge spoiler, at the very end when Luke does the whole Force projection thing.
Yeah.
And then he dies like immediately after. Like he has a heart attack. Like he literally sends his soul out of his body and it never comes back. Yeah. Like, he has a heart attack. I don't know, like Force attack. I don't like.
That's all the Force he ever had. That's his light Force, his light Force.
Yeah,
that's all he had.
I don't get it. Like
gone.
He was like all healthy and shit, and then he like projects himself once and fucking dies of the shock. I don't know. Like he went out with it like a bitch, but no, that's not even my problem.
He evaporated.
But my problem is that if you can recall, in
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back,
Yeah.
when he was fighting with Vader, he got his hand cut off.
Yeah.
So they replaced his hand with a robotic hand.
Yeah.
Now, when Luke dies and he vaporizes, so does his robotic hand.
Uh-oh.
So that's so I'm not sure what the fuck is
101.
going on. Yeah, because like I was specifically listening
Maybe
in that
that
scene.
was also a projection.
No, I was see it's possible, but I was waiting in that scene. I was waiting to hear the little clink tink tink of his hand like falling to the ground, and they didn't do it.
So one thing is funny. His projection had a lightsaber go through him.
Yeah.
Yet when they fight, the sabers kind of collide against each other. So his projection was holding an actual lightsaber,
So
or the lightsaber was also like it's.
so you're not supposed to think about it,
Right.
You're just it's the Force.
Okay.
And you want to hear something really funny is that Rian Johnson or Rian Johnson, I don't know how to pronounce his name, whatever the fuck his name is, he was actually getting a lot of hate on Twitter for that force projection thing. People saying like, "What the fuck is this? That's not a thing. Jedi's can't. How come no one's ever done that before?" Blah blah blah.
It would have saved a lot of wars. Yeah.
So he actually either he's a huge Star Wars nerd himself, which he probably is, or Lucasfilms gave this to him. But he has a book. Okay. He has several books, but one of the books it says Jedi Teachings.
Wow.
So it's like actually George Lucas who, with whatever writers, put together all the rules and stuff of the Jedi, and he actually flips through the book and finds the page on force projection. And it's there, and he basically posts that on his Twitter, and he's like,
what a smart ass about fictional movies.
Yeah, like literally. So it is a thing.
That's actually something I find really funny is that people argue with so much passion about the semantics of a fictional universe. Yeah. You know, none of it's real. That's the bottom argument.
And they're arguing with the creator of that universe. It's like
but the Force really can't do that.
Like you're gonna tell George Lucas
what
he can do with his own movies in his own franchise. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah, honestly, it's like those people you see like Comic-Con and
yeah,
asking those really intricate questions.
Why does Batman in the scene in Batman versus Superman where he hits the guy with the thing and he's clearly dead? But
in episode 4, in 1 minute 36 seconds, you tell me that.
Yeah, with the force that Batman punches that guy in the throat, his trachea is clearly completely shattered.
Nerds, you give us a reason for the podcast.
Yeah,
anyway,
literally. Like, it's funny, we're doing a nerdcast and we're totally bashing nerds.
Now, keep in mind, we are nerds ourselves, as you might have seen for the last hour. But
these are people that take it to the extreme.
There's nerd behavior that needs to.
Oh yeah, there's gotta.
We're the ones to do that, I guess.
Yeah, there's got to be a point where you just sit back and you fucking enjoy the movie, man. Like, just shut up.
So it's ironic that we said that because we bash pretty much every movie that we talked about right now. But if there's a purpose, it's to like educate nerds to be more socially involved. With their lives. That I think this is the reason behind the podcast is like, okay, guys.
Yeah, Cote, this one's for you.
But we're gonna help you. We're gonna give you free lessons on how to be normal.
Yeah,
Cote, you are our guinea pig. No, I'm kidding. I love you, Cote.
No, man, that guy's practically married. He's doing quite well.
I am married. I'm not doing so.
Oh, God.
With a baby on the way.
Yeah.
So that's actually another thing about being a father is I have to be very careful with how much I indulge in my nerdiness because
I'm dying to hear
right
this
because
one.
I mean the kid will catch on to if you're obsessed about one thing or another. They will kind of like a lot of things that I'm interested in. Like one of the things is golf, and the only reason I like golf is because my dad used to play. I used to go with him all the time. So eventually there's some hobbies
sure
and stuff.
It wasn't cricket?
Oh, I will say that in the Bollywood segment. No, but there's some parts that the kid will pick up as hobbies. So if I take my child to watch all these superhero movies, one of two things will happen. Either they'll hate it because of the time the dad took them all the time, or they really get into it. So, but now when I read some of the comic books now, they're really messed up again. That's my biggest issue, really. Like honestly, is like
here. Let me crack open that.
The kids, the comics now are not the way they used to be back in the day, where literally it was meant for like little kids who have a newspaper.
Yeah.
They turn over and there's like a panel of SpiderMan, and it's like the most basic garbage you've ever read in your life.
Like, oh my God, Spider-Man, a car has run into a light pole.
To a point where cats were actually stuck in trees, and Superman would come down and save them. And then I don't know if you remember, like G.I. Joe.
Oh,
the cartoons.
Do I ever? Especially those remakes that they did recently.
So, one of the things at the end of the G.I. Joe TV shows, the cartoon shows, was that at the end they would have a little public service announcement that. And knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
But they're actually geared to little kids to actually helping them learn about, dangers of the world. But now, even the comic books, like, they're quite. There's a lot of adult matter in there. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of adult content. So, got to be careful with what you teach your kid, man.
Can you imagine if they had those G.I. Joe PSAs today? Like, what kind of shit would be in there?
Oh,
like,
no.
Timmy just overdosed on crack at the club.
No,
the more you know.
We would know exactly what it would be. And kids, this is why you don't eat Tide Pods.
Yeah,
Knowing is half the battle.
Yeah. This is why you don't wear short skirts to the club. And knowing is half the battle. And they were immediately taken off the air. Like, while it was airing, they pulled the plug.
And when you see black people walk, no, I'm kidding.
We would like to apologize for the G.I. Joe content that we just aired.
So now they have to be so, what's the word I'm looking for? Accommodating, right? To different. I think that's why they won't do PSAs anymore because. Like, okay,
because everybody's a pussy, you can say it. It's okay.
Yeah, no. The thing is that back then, yes, it was really cool to have a PSA. As a parent, you're like, my kid's watching the right shit. But it was so white.
It was very. I agree with you. It was very geared to more
like the rich kids,
middle class,
Yeah.
upper class.
Yeah. So now, if they were like, where do you begin? What kind of PSAs do you start saying to like those who are A, well off, and B, not so well off? So it's just.
Yeah.
You could say one thing and it completely does not apply to the population.
Yeah, watch out, Timmy, don't get hit by that Mercedes. Like, how does that relate to, But it's
always carry a shank with you.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to cap someone's ass. Make sure you're always carrying a 40. No, it's I completely understand what you mean. It was from a different time where, that kind of stuff. Like, and to be fair, like that was very much back in the day where, a lot of more people were middle class and upper class than lower class because people could afford to live off of one job.
Yeah.
And this is where he knocks shit over, just like he does.
Just the beginning. I'm taking all my clothes off.
Now the viewers are just flooding it. Hey, so we have a comment in the chat that says, "Is this the guy from EDB?"
Ooh, we're not gonna.
Somebody must know you from EDB. This is someone that I worked with in cards. So
we're not gonna go there, Chris, because regulations.
So worked with in that place that we won't name.
Disclose and or thing. We don't have jobs. This is us trying to. Just for all the argument's sake.
Yeah.
We don't work
so
at all. We watch movies.
We'll edit that out for the audio version, but let's just say that somebody recognized Syed. That does not work with him, so there you go.
If this is the first impression you're getting of me is on this podcast, dear God.
Oh, it's only downhill from here.
There's qualities about me that I don't share in real life that makes me a little bit better and bearable. Not so much on the podcast. But the other thing I want to mention is that comic books now ultimately are gearing towards those who followed it as a kid, right? I mean, it's not the same target audience as it was when it started. Now the target audience is us and potentially older because we used to read them back in the day. Now kids don't read the comic issues. They're more likely to watch the Netflix shows, which to me, by the way, Netflix reminds me of like straight to DVD. It's not. The quality and stuff in production is really good for Netflix.
Actually, it's arguable. It depends. Like a lot of the stuff on Netflix should have gone straight to
DVD if there were DVDs.
Yeah, but no. So there's some really quality stuff, like like Daredevil, Punisher, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. Even if you argue that some of those shows aren't the greatest, like there's a lot of good content out there. The production value,
Annihilation is actually like a Hollywood movie,
yes,
at least on Netflix. So it's interesting that they use that medium because that's a more profitable medium now, probably because that's where.
I think Hitman's Bodyguard was also somewhat funded by Netflix.
Oh yeah,
not 100% sure, but
and
they're branching out definitely. Like Netflix when it first came out, if I'm not mistaken, it was like kind of like a mail order service where like they send you a movie in the mail and then you have to like return it. I'm pretty sure that's what it started as. And then it just like blew up over like I'd never heard of Netflix, and then like just out of nowhere it just seemed to balloon into this huge thing, and now like people have Netflix accounts they're not even watching. Like it's just the household thing to have. Like, and that's why, you know, cable companies and stuff are struggling because Netflix has kind of taken over that market, and it's kind of confusing to me because the cable company's response is not to make things better or more affordable or easier.
Yeah.
It's to jack up the prices
For those who are left.
and make it,
The
yeah.
ones not as smart enough to transition over.
Yeah, not a good business model.
But there's so much coming out now. Like, I mean, it's not like Netflix kind of started it, but there's so many streaming services out now. Disney's coming out with their own. So that's
interesting.
Yeah, that's something really worth looking into. Is that
Yeah.
they're starting to pull out some of the Disney content out of Netflix slowly.
Yeah.
Because they'll be launching their own streaming service. So it's just the way that we watch media now. We stream it. So
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much all I do these days. Other than like.
because nobody has time to wait a week. Come on.
We don't.
Like, honestly.
Like,
we get a day out of it. Like, you know, we're
Literally.
we're lucky if we can at the same time next week we can have that's a time off again. Like,
Yeah, man, it's tough. Like even getting out to the movies these days, it's hard to get something scheduled down because like we're older now. We got lives, we got wives and kids on the way, for example. So
wives on the way.
yeah,
Plural. Honey, if you're listening, it's just you. I promise.
yes.
She's not listening. That's the irony.
To my wife, it's just you. To my girlfriend, also, it's just you. I'm joking to whoever's currently listening, but. But yeah, it's.
I can imagine this being played for Chris's like lawsuit.
Yeah, literally like divorce
the evidence,
proceedings. And in hour 1, minute 36, Chris stated, "It was a joke. Do you find this funny, sir?" Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, half my shit is not a lot, so anyone who takes half my stuff is going to be sorely disappointed. But
we want to talk in a segment about like relationship advice too, right? I mean,
oh, here we go.
But this is a tricky business,
Yeah.
right? I mean, nerds are probably thinking like, yeah, we need to be in a relationship before we get advice for it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
And the rest of the chat just left.
No, one thing that I've learned actually,
The only thing
I've really learned that holds a relationship together is that I think patience is key. Like, you really have to be patient with the other party. Just whether it's like you're a couple or just, you know, a group of friends or whatever. I think that's one of the main things that we're missing out is patience. A lot of people just kind of want to have their input into things and just kind of have things their way. You need to let people kind of give them space to be themselves, and then be patient with them, because they're not going to learn everything that you're going to tell them. So they need to make those mistakes. They need to grow. You need to kind of give them that space to grow. So I think that's important. That's my 2 cents on relationships. That's all the advice we have for now. Moving on to the next segment.
It's true. And I mean, I think a big part of that in relationships these days is the fact that so I actually did a Facebook post about this either last year or the year before, but there's this whole debate about whether it's easier to cheat now than it is back then, and I disagree, like, with people who say that, because it's not any easier to cheat, because it was just as easy back then to cheat as it is now. It's just about the type of person that you are. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not judging anybody, because I'm not perfect, and nobody is. But in this case, I think it just comes down to, you know, mistakes happen. So in this case, it's just as easy now as it was then. There's just a lot more options to do so nowadays than there are. Like, there's social media, Facebook, Instagram, all these places, Snapchat, where people like where everything's so private and people can slide in your DMs and whatever the case may be, whatever the kids are saying these days.
Or the Tinders and
yeah, Tinder, whatever the heck else. They seem to come out with a new app literally every week, so I can never keep track.
Every social group, like there's actually one for Muslims called Minder.
Shut up!
I'm serious.
Shut up! And Christian Mingle and J-Date for Jews. Like it's a whole thing. Like people are getting real specialized these days. Like
they're making a lot of money making.
Yeah, because and it's weird because there seems to have been this huge paradigm shift and this social cultural change where like it's no longer acceptable to go talk to a human being in person.
It's harder, that's for sure, because they're like, why don't you DM me first?
Yeah, like literally, it's like but the problem, and that's the problem, and it's like, and I don't know who to blame here, so I'm just gonna like I'm not gonna place blame on either side, but I'm just saying like nowadays, when a guy approaches a girl, I'm like, and I've seen this, and have had girls tell me this about guys that have approached them, like their immediate thought is like, ew, like unless they're like a ridiculously good looking guy, like it's weird to approach a girl now, and that's really unfortunate, because back in the day, like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like that's how people would get together. Like a guy would go up to you and be like, hey, you know, I think you're really beautiful, blah blah, and the girl would go like, ah, you know, like
really, that's how it was, eh?
Yeah, that's what I've seen in movies anyways, but
okay.
But no, like I feel like some of that is true. That is how it used to work. Like you'd literally just walk up to someone, hey, I think you're really beautiful. Do you mind if I take you out? Blah blah blah. And I don't think that works as well these days.
But the other thing is now it's so easy to be good looking. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many ways to make yourself good looking. Like,
first of all, I disagree with that.
Really?
I don't think it's easier to be good looking.
I mean, compared to before, now you have a lot at your disposal to help you change, or not change, but like amplify the way you look, right? I mean, from
women though, I think guys still have it pretty rough. Like if you're like there's only so much makeup can do.
Like for guys like us who have a bit of a belly, right? We're at a huge disadvantage because a lot of people, pun intended. Like a lot of guys now work out. Pretty much every guy has some sort of like fitness program or something. Minus us, because fuck it,
because we're fat fucks.
But
we love food.
You know, you have ways to kind of help you improve your overall, you know, shape of your body. There's a lot of things you could do. You know, just the way that science has evolved too. If you're losing hair, you can get it. You know what I mean?
They can take hair from your ass and put it on your head.
Like there's a lot of things. Yeah, you can remove hair, add hair, change it. Right? So
literally, like it's become this thing where like if you don't like it, remove it. If you want it, add it.
Like it's amazing what science can do now. So I feel like in that sense, if you have the money for it, if you have the accessibility for it, it is easier to be good looking now. Yeah. So, but at the same time, people communicate. Like they dress themselves up for that profile picture. Right? Yeah. It's not like you dress yourself up and then go talk to someone. You dress yourself up, take a picture, post it, and then wait for someone to text you.
I know, it's funny. It's like you'll see. I have friends and stuff. Like you'll see their profile pictures, and they're dressed in ways that I've never seen them dressed in their entire life. Like it'll be like a picture from a wedding or a picture from something like something where they definitely don't dress like this on a daily basis. Yeah. They don't look like this on a daily basis for sure. Yeah. And then like, and it's funny because we were just talking about this the other day. Now we won't name names, obviously, but there was an individual that we both are tangibly acquainted with, like we know very marginally, and this individual is relatively attractive looking when they are done up and made up or whatever you want to call it. But we recently saw a picture posted from someone else of this person.
It took me a while to figure out who you're talking about, but now I get it. Okay.
And and the results were, let's say,
shocking.
Yeah, quite the difference. The difference was very noticeable. Like if you were to put those two pictures side by side and say spot the differences, you'd win right away. Like it's that kind of a thing where, like, you know, you get like and it always makes you wonder, like, is it to make you feel better? Like, help us out. Tell us, like, ladies, gentlemen, whoever is dressing up, putting on makeup, all that kind of stuff, let us know. Like
changing yourself to a point where if you were to go back to your original, it there would be a little bit of like, whoa, oh, sorry, I didn't recognize you there initially.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's like, is it to make you feel better? Like, is it because you don't feel confident in yourself?
but then to us dumb guys, especially dumb nerd guys, isn't it just contradictory? Because when you do finally show yourself, like, it's gonna be even more. Like, if you just stayed who you were,
yeah,
right? I guess I don't know.
yeah, and that's why
Teach
I really
us.
want to know. That's why I want to know is like, is it for us? Is it for you? Is it for both? Who's it for?
Is it for each other? Because I know there's a lot of judgments passed
Yes.
around. Just you
Yeah.
don't have to necessarily be for the opposite gender. It's just
Yeah.
amongst you know what I mean. Like it's so many people criticizing you now that it's just
Yeah, and I find females are a lot worse than that for guys, and I'm sure females would agree that they can be a lot more catty when it comes to looks and stuff like that.
Or-
Like, you don't see guys going up to other guys and be like, "Hey, fatty." Like,
well, the thing is that I think they notice a lot of details, or they know
Yeah.
they look at certain details. Like for us, we'll just look at it as a whole picture. If
Yeah.
one thing is off, we're gonna be like, "Yeah, you look stupid, bro. Fuck off." Right? But like, and girls are really good at this. They can say like, "Okay, well, here's the positive about this. Here's the negative about this." They can kind of break things down really well.
Yeah.
Some guys can do that, but majority of the guys just kind of look at it as a whole and be like, "It's a positive or it's a negative. Get the fuck out of my face." But I don't know. That's it's hard for us to understand that. So let us know.
yeah, please. I would love to get feedback. You can. So I think it's time that we plug our Facebook page that I just recently created. So
Yes.
it's literally just at ThinkFast Nerdcast on Facebook. So
Once again, that's ThinkFast Nerdcast.
yes, it's on my page. I've tagged Syed as well, but if you want to just head in there, you can either send us a private message, you can post in there, just let us know, answer any of the questions that we might have asked on the podcast.
Which is pretty much every question.
Literally.
Every topic we talked about ended with a question, so.
But no, like it's something that, you know, I'm genuinely curious about, because I don't like to stereotype anybody. I don't like to make any assumptions, so I just want to hear from you guys and girls.
And here's a little secret about guys when they put up pictures and stuff like that. So there's some, I don't know, I feel like guys have the weirdest, stupidest things that they do. Like they're like, okay, I'll pose for a picture, but I will never smile. Like I feel like that's a big thing with
And
guys.
I
Oh,
am
will not
super.
smile.
I'm guilty. I'm
Really?
guilty big time with this. Like, if you look at my pictures on my Facebook, like even my profile picture, and but I like, I'm gonna blame it on a light skin thing. Like that's a light skin face. Like it's like
Really?
the straight eyes,
have
no
to be-
smile. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. And then there's the other guys on the flip side who are very into it. They're very into their you know, certain parts of their features or whatever. So they will actually make an equivalent duck face.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
Like there's
man.
some that we know who do that, and it's just guys have really weird. Like it's not a phase that everybody like with women. I feel like it's a pose that a lot of them will be familiar with or
Yeah.
know the concept of. With guys, they just judge themselves that, you know what, this is something I should do or not do, and then they will always do or not do that, and it's really stupid. Someone needs to call them out on it. So I'll be the first one. So if you're taking the same picture for the last I don't know how many years, change it up a little. You might actually get some responses.
Yeah.
Just
so,
saying.
so I'm going to show you a little example here. I found this lovely picture that I want to share
That's me experimenting
with
with
everybody.
mirrors.
Let me see if the camera can pick the. Oh, I'm not even close. Hang
In
on.
fact, you froze. You broke the camera. This is what happens when you put a picture of me.
There we go. Oh, and it went away. See if I can get it back. There we go. There's our good buddy Syed. Looks like potentially. I don't know how long ago this was.
This was when I was 19. So I was still in
Wow.
university, first year.
That is a very 19-year-old
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah.
very artsy. The mirror picture. I have one myself. But it's funny, like looking back, the
You
pictures that
haven't
you used to
seen-
take versus the pictures that you take now.
You haven't seen the one where I actually discovered Photoshop for the first time ever. So I
Oh.
used that picture and I changed it up to Photoshop.
Oh man, this is fantastic.
Those were good times.
I have one of those too. Like I feel like I photoshopped angel wings on myself or something stupid like that.
That is
but I
amazing.
think it's on my old computer somewhere, and it's gonna rot. So
It's never
never
to
gonna
be
see the
seen
light of day.
again.
No, hell
That's
no.
hilarious.
Not letting anybody blackmail me with that shit.
Well, you shouldn't have told me.
Yeah.
Step one. And I probably won't find it when I need to. But that's something I can't wait to show you guys. Okay, so you can't really see it. It's here. Okay. So,
Oh man. Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's not. Oh. I was like, I don't see the Oh, okay. Okay, so let me flip this around. There's the camera.
I have always been a huge fan of Joker before Heath Ledger came out. Just saying, but this was...
So let me try and get that one in the shot. There we go. That's a good shot. So the one on the left, well, left for me. I'm not sure how it's showing on your end, but that is definitely a Joker smile. Pretty cool, actually.
Discovered Photoshop for the first time. Played around with it. Had a lot of fun. And I think this is just how we take pictures now, with a lot of Photoshop and filters.
Speaking of stuff that we used to do as kids, let's talk about the way that we used to message people as kids and the kinds of emails that we used to have as a kid. So
mine's not embarrassing that much, but I know other people who had it.
So my first email when I was a young lad was Sinister the Evil One at hotmail.com.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I clearly I put a lot of thought into that one, and I was in a dark place in my life, but yeah, so then when I got older, obviously I started to actually want to get employment, so I changed it. I'm not sure how well Sinister the Evil One could go over on the top of a resume, unless I'm applying to like a sex dungeon or something. But no.
Mine wasn't that bad, actually. Mine was just funny 94. Irony of it was I wasn't funny. I'm still not. But I like to think I was. I was not born in the year 94.
So that the whole thing
is
lie.
Just a lie.
Okay.
Just not 94, not funny.
Oh my god.
But I've seen, okay. I think the worst one I have ever seen is Hotmail, M-A-L-E. Hotmail at hotmail.com, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Like how many fucking, like, did that take you like 5 seconds to think? I bet it took him like months.
The worst part was he was proud of it.
It's like, what is the stupidest shit that I can possibly come
I
up
have
with?
discovered the best username ever. It's Hotmail, M-A-L-E.
No.
I'm like, but
shut up.
But you're clearly not the first one to think about it, because after Hotmail is 1, 2, 3, 8, 4, 9, 6, 7.
Yeah. It's like, I can't believe he fucking took it. Hotmail 1. Yeah. There. I'll show him.
And then I had another one which was like B is at hotmail.com.
Oh yeah, I had some people who had that, and then I had
I just felt
someone
really
who was
clever.
like, this is my email address at hotmail.com and stuff like that.
Catch me outside at hotmail.com.
Yeah.
That's a great email.
Oh man. And I don't know if you were a user of ICQ at all, or if you were.
Joined in. No, I wasn't.
Okay, yeah, that might have, because that was real old school, and those of us who remember ICQ, like, now I'm really dating myself, but but that was the big thing back in the day, like, and every time you get a message, the little everyone will remember that. And then from ICQ we went to MSN.
Yeah, that's where I kind of came in the picture.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually allowed to have an email address that was like for like
Me too.
12. It wasn't my parents. My
God.
parents were like, do whatever the fuck you want. You're the last kid. We're tired of raising kids. Do whatever you want. It was my older
Go
sister.
play in traffic.
Yeah, literally. And there's a story of me doing that. But anyway, I'm not gonna talk about that.
Don't
here.
think that you're just gonna drop that and let it go. We're coming back to
We'll
this.
saving that for the next episode. But no, it was my oldest sister, and God bless her, she's the best sister ever.
Yeah, in case she's listening to this podcast.
In case she's listening. No, but she, like, it's about how older sisters raise their younger siblings. And I think that's huge, and they raise them like their own children. So she was the mom.
Yeah.
She wouldn't let me get a cell phone because she thought I would start texting girls, which she wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. She knew you, in other words.
After I got their number, I wasn't one of those guys. Oh, by the way, I hate, my pet peeve is those guys who ask for a number from a friend.
Oh, and then
they
are just like,
text them,
hey,
and they're
smiley
like,
face.
Okay, anyway. Reason why I hate that, now switching gender roles, a girl did that to me, and it drove me absolutely crazy, and she was playing like mysteriously, like, oh, you know me, try to remember.
Yeah, it's like, I'm a girl who wears this in their hair.
So fast, like, literally. Similarly with, it wasn't a prank call, but they just called me and they're like, hi, I got your number from a friend. I'm like, and literally after she said that, I was like, who the fuck are you if you don't tell me I'm hanging up? And she's like, wow, you're an asshole. I'm like, bye.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
it's creepy,
I have no
though.
patience for that. I have no patience for that.
Like, just imagine, like, okay, so this is what the equivalent would be if this was real life, okay? Someone walks up to you with a fucking bag over their head.
Yeah,
And they're like,
yeah.
hey,
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? You
I
know
will
me.
reveal to you who I am later. Like, no,
Yeah.
get out of my
Yeah.
face, you rapist.
Like literally, they come over with like a sheet. You can't see anything. Just like, hey, you know me? Like, you want to talk? Like,
And-
no.
And guys are huge, like, especially brown guys. Okay, I'll be the one to
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
highlight it because it's my people.
So there goes our Brampton and Mississauga audience out the window.
Or the female audience comes on board and they're like, yeah, that's
No,
them.
They were
But-
never here, so they're not
Yeah,
going
that's
to bother
true.
coming on for that.
That's very true. Brown people are the worst when it comes to this. I think even when it comes to just sending messages, like,
Yeah.
My
Bob
wife-
and Virgin.
yeah, my wife has a picture of us, like it's a picture of us at our wedding. Like we're both bride and groom are in
Oh,
that
no,
picture,
I
and
can
they're
see
like,
where this is
And
going.
they're like, "Hello, madam, you are the cutie. Let
Oh.
me." Dude, that is me and my husband.
Yeah. Let me have the sex.
Can I be the friend?
Yeah.
It's funny.
No,
but,
no, Rajesh. No.
Yeah. But anyway,
And
so
that was his best friend.
rest in peace, Rajesh. No, I'm kidding.
That's crazy. Like, and it's no
Guys
joke.
are shameless about this. And with
Yeah.
online and with text messages, there's so much
Yeah.
anonymity.
Anonymity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. English is my second language. But that really puts a lot of, like, people develop a lot of guts to do certain things that they normally wouldn't in the face-to-face confrontation.
Oh yeah.
They would not do any of this kind of thing, but
And
with
that's-
online, it's just
And that's definitely a bad thing. I can with no hesitation say that some of those people they need to lose a little bit of confidence.
yeah. And to be honest, like that's kind of the biggest thing that would drive someone towards you or away from you is pretty much how truthful you are about at least
Yeah.
making the other person comfortable, right? Like
Yeah.
you can start a whole conversation without disclosing your name, and you should know that conversation won't go very far.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my advice to the kids now: if you're pursuing a relationship via text, don't be creepy.
Oh yeah, so here's the thing: if you're gonna start a relationship by text, don't keep it going by text. You need
At one point,
it's at some early on, meet this person.
just get
Yeah.
all the surprises if there are any. Just get them out of the way ASAP, right? I mean, of course, there's long distance that's different, but
Yeah, this may shock you, but people are not always who they seem to be online or over text.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah.
Number 1008.
So meet them in person and see
Yeah.
if you can actually stand to be in their presence for more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I think a good judge
Yeah.
of people.
Like, we're at 2 hours right now, and he's already pissing me the fuck off. So
I just can't wait to go home. I'm just waiting for the alcohol to die out.
yeah,
Kidding.
well, I paid him for 3 hours. So
As I drink more beer. One of the things I think is a great judge of character. So if you're trying to figure out what the person is in a very short amount of time, I think one of the biggest judge of character is when that person deals with somebody who is at a different level as they are, like a little bit lower level. Like, for example, I feel like when I'm out at a restaurant and I'm meeting new people for the first time, how
Yeah.
they talk to those who take their order or who make their
Oh,
food.
that's a good one.
You know what I mean? Like how they
Yeah.
talk to people who are giving them a service, and either they're douchebaggy or they're very polite. Like
Yeah.
that kind of, I immediately paint them in a certain light. So if they're
Yeah.
nice to people like that,
Yeah.
So-
So that brings up a very good point, and I 100% agree, like 150%. How people deal with certain people in their lives and certain everyday events
Yeah.
does kind of set the tone for who they are as
Yeah.
a person. Now I'm going to talk about someone who is likely going to listen to this at some point, so I won't name names, but they'll probably know who they are. But I know an individual who, when things don't always go their way, when they're out at a restaurant or somewhere, where food or drinks are being ordered, they can get a bit
yeah,
rude and sarcastic and,
yeah,
a little bit testy with the waitresses and things like that.
yeah, and that's huge. Like they'll start hitting on the person that's ordering the food, or they're gonna be really rude and douchey
Yeah.
and pretentious.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
just-
I've seen both. I've seen and that's what always creeps me out the most. Like, okay, I get it. The servers at certain places are hot. Okay, I understand.
Especially if you had drinks,
But yeah, especially after a few drinks. But people go to work not with the expectation that they're gonna have to get hit on and they're gonna have to deal with that. They already probably have to deal with that when they go out to the club or they go out to the bar or whatever.
Just everyday life.
Like you're at work. Like
Yeah.
this is where they work. They don't want that in the workplace. Like if you're gonna be subtle about it and like maybe after you're finished the meal and everything, or like maybe like wait until the place is about to close and just be like, hey, just wanted to, here's my number if you want to, whatever. But like you'd be like, oh, you're very beautiful, you know, like, oh, I'm making
And
like
just-
sexual jokes and
just
things like
becoming
that.
obnoxious with it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Once fine, but like, you know, if you've not fine, but like, if you need to express yourself and you've done that already and you've already received a response that they're like, okay, that's cool, but fuck
no
off.
means no.
Yeah.
I know this may also shock a lot of people out there,
And-
but not everyone's going to be interested in you.
Surprise. But I think that's a great way to judge people. Not that you should be judging them immediately, but it's one of the things that kind of highlights their personalities, how they react to people.
It's an indicator.
Yeah, it's an indicator. It may not be true. They could be
Yeah.
a jerk to the waitress or waiter that they're dealing with at that moment, but they could be great to people in general. So
They can, but still, it's not appropriate.
yeah.
Like, you
because
know,
it just kind of paints the level of respect that they have, right? I mean,
exactly. And there's that whole saying that says, you know, you should respect the janitor as much as you respect the CEO.
Yeah.
And it's true. It doesn't matter like who it is. You should have respect. Like I have respect for the person who's handing me my burger at the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Just as much as I respect my boss or my boss's boss or
Yeah.
anyone like
Yeah.
that. Like I wouldn't disrespect them.
and like it even tells you their sense of entitlement, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
they're like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so I'm entitled to certain things, and then that kind of becomes evident, especially when it comes to food.
Yeah.
Take somebody out, make them wait for food, and that really highlights how they are as people. I feel like
it is very
it is
interesting.
so easy to find out what they're like, and they'd be like, "It's my worst," but
It boggles my mind because if you put that same person in a situation where it's their mom cooking food, they'll wait for 3 hours and they won't say shit. But if you're going out to fucking McDonald's and you have to wait an extra 5 minutes for your Big Mac, end of the world. Like it's crazy, man. Like I
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
we're in that kind of culture where everybody's in a hurry and
It's
people
quick
expect
and
things done
fast food,
quickly,
yep.
but it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes, you know, you just got to relax.
yeah. So that is a great way. I think the other couple ways I've seen people, and this is not necessarily putting them in a stressful situation of any sort, but just sort of like, if you ask them an open-ended question, so one of the things I've noticed, if you talk to them about any other experience and they bring it to themselves,
Yeah.
like I love people who just bring everything back to themselves. They're
Okay,
like,
so here's the thing. I have a big problem with that, which you've probably picked up on during this podcast. That when Syed's in the middle of saying something, I'll jump in and just be like, "Oh yeah,
Happened to
well,
me too."
I have a thing that la 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 la." Like I have
No,
a
but
big
like, if
problem.
you're sharing personal experiences, that's
Yeah.
obviously okay to do. But if you're talking about like, yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
go
no, I
on,
just
Chris.
know I have a bad habit of doing that, like even with my friends and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to cut back on it because I do realize that it's not courteous, it's not polite to
Mm-hmm.
kind of relate everything that they're going through back to yourself.
Mm.
Be like, oh yeah, well I'm going through. Well, oh yeah, I've gone through that too, and blah blah blah. No, just address their situation.
Especially if the situation you've gone through is not at all what you've gone through.
It's like, oh my god, I just lost my grandmother. Oh, I know I lost my dog last week. I
Yeah,
know
like
what
it-
you're going through, man. Like
It's so
no.
funny. A lot of people actually say like how their pets are like their children.
And that's the thing, is that you got to be real careful in
Yeah.
those kinds of situations,
Yeah.
because to some people it is. So you can't tell them like, oh, it's nothing like losing a kid. What's wrong with you? Blah blah
Yeah,
blah. Because
yeah.
I don't feel that you can tell anyone how they should be feeling. Like if they feel like
Yeah.
they lost a child, then that's
Let
how they
them-
feel.
And like I feel like don't try to relate to every experience. Like if they're feeling an experience, sympathize with them. Give them the like, oh wow, that sounds really tough. I can't
Yeah.
imagine what you're going through. As opposed to be like, yeah, something similar happened to me, and
Yeah.
you just run the risk of something not at all what happened to them.
and
so.
alienating them.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, I've talked to a lot of parents and parents to pets. So there's a huge difference. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, my child does this, and then the other person will be like, oh yeah, and like my dog is like my son, and they like no,
That's not
a
how it
human
works.
child should not, especially your own human child,
Yeah.
should not be compared to your household pet, because you're not gonna treat like I don't know
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your pet. I'm not judging you on that end. I will judge you if you relate this to a human child of your own. So I don't know. Maybe
Yeah. Well, here's
I was
my-
allergic to my pet, so maybe I have this whole thing. I have.
Yeah, let's hope you're not allergic to your kid. That would be real. 'Cause I can tell you, your
Depends
wife,
on-
you'd be the first one out the door.
Depends on fur and dander.
But no, I agree. But like the thing that I have to say with that is that if you've had a kid and then you're saying that your pet is like your kid, then that's a little bit different than someone who's never had kids
Yeah.
saying like, oh, my pet is like my
kid.
child.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
different. You've never had kids, so this is like a kid to you. But don't have a kid and then say my pet is like having a kid.
Yeah.
It's not. You've had the experience of having a kid. If your kid gets run over by a car or your dog gets run over by a car,
There's a
you're
huge
going to react
difference.
two very different ways.
One is gonna take you to a cemetery to perform a funeral. The other one's probably gonna get you jailed for being a bad parent. You let your kid go to this.
Oh my god! Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't, and that's what I don't.
Like I've
understand.
actually seen posts where they're like a dog dies and the kid's with the
Yeah.
dog and they're like, Tim lost his brother. Like, oh my god.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. And then that's the thing. It's like clickbait. It's like you're reading. You don't see the thing at the end. So
Yeah.
like it's a big long story,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I'm very sorry to announce that today Tim lost his only brother. He was 7 years old. He was very loved by all the family. And then like you scroll down, it's a picture of him holding a fucking pit bull. Like, what? Like you just
Tim?
robbed me of my emotions.
Yeah.
I want my sadness back. Like return it to me. I feel cheated. You ripped me off. No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I used to work in retail, and a lot of the times in retail you'd have people, older people usually, that would come in pushing their little prams or their little
Walking.
walkers or whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they'd have their dog inside, and their dog they'd be talking to the dog like, oh, my little princess baby doo-doo. Like, now I'm not going to comment on them as people because mental health issues are very prevalent in today's
And
society.
animals help.
But yeah, and they do. But like, oh my lord, like what?
Yeah.
I don't even think I need to say it. But like, there comes a
You all
point.
know where we're going.
Yeah, like you gotta draw the line somewhere. Like a pet is a pet. I know it's a loving family member, and etc. etc. But you really can't cross the line between pet and human. Like there's a line there. Believe me, you might not be able to see it, but it's there. So you said that you had a rabbit growing up.
Yeah.
Did you have any other pets?
No, mostly when I was really young, I had a couple cats, a duck. I had a duck.
Shut
I had a duck. This
up.
was back
Where'd you
home
keep it in the
in
sink?
Pakistan. No, it was kind of. It was a cardboard box. It was in Pakistan. So it's really warm outside. So I actually kept the duck outside. But yeah, I had ducks. I had a cat. I had a rabbit. Just every pet that
Every animal.
normal human would have. Like people have dogs and gerbils. I have
A duck. But that's cool,
That's
man.
pretty much
Ducks
it.
are
Yeah,
super cute.
Ducks are cool. They died.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that ducks are probably suited to a tropical, heated climate,
or a cardboard box for that matter.
or that. Yeah, I feel like they're more amphibious.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong. I'm
tried
not
to
an
raise them.
anthropologist.
Well, I mean, at that point, I was pretty much going to
this was last year.
No, because then I got involved in school, and so I wasn't really there to take care of them. No one was there, so poor guys.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody has.
Actually, I just
like
think
that.
my mom released them and said they died. I genuinely think that is the case. I think
See,
my mom
so
just
that's
released them.
better because
Yeah.
usually it's the reverse. Usually they fucking
died
die and they
tell
say
them
that they got
them.
released.
And mom's like, it's dead, and I was like, but like, typical parents will like have a burial service or some sort of thing with to do with the kid. I never saw the corpse. For all I know, it's out there missing.
No, and then you get those parents where it's like, old Yeller, he ran away. He ran away. He's on someone's farm. He's probably having a great time.
why is there a tombstone in the back?
Yeah. Unrelated, there is an open hole in the backyard, so you might want to avoid that if you're running around outside. So
You just made a statue of Yeller.
Side note. Now, the skeleton in the hole may look like a dog, but no, it's dinosaur bones.
What about you, Chris? Have you ever had any?
So I personally have not had pets.
Ever?
Yeah.
At all?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because so my parents had cats before I was born, and they both died before I was born. But my aunt had a dog, which we just called my dog because I spent so much time at my aunt's house. So, but it wasn't. But and I've had exes that have had pets and stuff,
Pet
and I've
owners
lived with them
everywhere
so.
are losing their shit because you said it was practically my dog.
Yeah. I can see the comments right now. It wasn't your fucking dog.
You have to clean up after.
check your privilege.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, so Probably the closest I came to owning a pet was when I lived with my ex for a couple years, and she had a few rabbits.
Oh.
So yeah, that's where my love of rabbits came from. I think they're the
Really?
most adorable things ever. Yeah. Well, if you get the right one, there are some really
Yeah.
nasty
Yeah.
rabbits out there, but I like the ones that are nice and cute. They let you pick them up and stuff. So
Yeah.
they're adorable.
They're not fighters.
And you can potty, like, not potty. Sorry, you can litter tray them, and I didn't know that. You
There
can
are
litter
like
train
cats
rabbits.
like that. They
yeah.
only go back to their cage to do like they're very clean in that way.
It's interesting,
It
and
is.
it's like it always really fascinates me how different animals have different intelligence levels and the
Yeah.
things that you can teach them. Like I swear, like many years ago, there was like that person that taught their cat to poop in the toilet,
Wow.
and that like blew my mind. It's like, oh my god, like that's crazy. And then okay, so now my mind's kind of ping ponging all over the place.
That's awesome.
But so that gets me on another topic. Like I'm always wondering.
Perfect.
I'm always wondering. For cultures where the language was made at a time where certain things didn't exist.
Right.
I know for English, usually things get named in English first and then get translated to other places. Majority of the time, I'd say.
And often it'll be the English word used in that language.
And that's my thing is that for times where it's not in English, like who decides what the word for a certain thing will be? Like who decided, like, let's say computer? Like who decided how to say computer in Punjab or Urdu?
In Urdu, I actually don't think there is a word for computer. It literally is computer.
So you just
Like people
use
say
that.
computer. Like
So that's why there's so much like mixture of English and the other language. Like you'll see blah, 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 computer.
yeah, because it's like it's the equivalent of us saying Kleenex over tissue because that is the name of the brand, right?
Brand,
So
okay.
you would say the brand regardless. You would butcher it completely in your accent, computer, but it was still a computer. Yeah,
I get it.
Kleenex.
Oh my god, that's not real. I can't be
That's not real. I just totally
brown people write us. Please tell us if that's real in any culture.
let us know how you pronounce Kleenex.
Kleenex.
Kleenex. But it's like, same thing with like car names. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they will use the English term, which I find really funny actually.
But how do you say car in your language?
Oh, there's actually a word for car. Gadi. Gadi is like the Punjabi word for it.
Okay.
But there is a word for car, but there's not a specific word for a specific kind of car.
Got you.
So they would still say like sedan.
sedan Gardi.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. So and it's interesting
My
because
Gardi is SUV.
but I guess and I get it because like cars have been around for a while.
Yeah,
But like
the
things
cars
that
have
haven't
been
been around so
Yeah.
long. Like let's
or
say
like iPad.
like iPad.
Yeah.
But then that's a brand kind
yeah,
of.
that's
but like
again, that's
microphone.
brand. Yep. Cell phone. People
Cell
say
phone,
people
yeah.
say cell phone. Mobile.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
as far
okay,
as we
okay.
go, but that's still an English word. It's
Yeah.
still
And so it's funny. In Quebec, they actually have language, like a language. I don't know how to put it. Like language police almost.
what?
Like they have a group of people that make sure that the French language is staying as pure as possible.
Oh, wow.
They're making sure that certain words don't enter their vocabulary, so they won't make French words for certain things.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's also they also have rules that like if you're in the media in Quebec, like if you're on television, radio, whatever, they can actually force you to make a certain percentage of your content French.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to how you say.
Yeah. You know, sometimes we just need to switch to the French podcast. We need to hang out at the dépanneur, n'est-ce pas? Yeah.
That
All
is
of our
really
French
interesting.
viewers just left.
Yeah. Never to come back again.
But yeah, it's very interesting to see,
That's
like,
interesting.
even within Canada, like, there's such a separate and very diverse culture. Like, Quebec, like, and the separatists obviously want to be completely separate, but
Yeah.
they have, like, this completely different mentality and this completely different way of living. And, like, they look down on just English speakers and stuff, and it's wild.
I really do wonder. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're living in a whole different world right now because like the part that I live in in Ontario is so brown that like for a good portion of it, you will literally feel like everything just came from Pakistan with me when I came here.
Yeah,
And-
it's like
you
you
know
never
what I mean?
left.
It's and like there's places not far away from me at all, like maybe about 20 minutes drive away is like Georgetown or straight white. Niskar, you know what I mean? Like
it's literally the further
Markham
you
is
get,
Chinese.
further
right?
you go from Toronto, the whiter it gets.
Yeah.
To a point. So like
Yeah.
you'll leave Toronto, then it'll go like brown, and then white.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Burlington,
yeah.
Hamilton,
Yeah.
like Barrie, all those places.
So any major city that is close but not Toronto is brown. Anything remote, most likely you'll find. But that's so interesting because I've been to the U.S. Not obviously every state, so I know some states are more than the others. But
yeah.
like it's pretty. Like there, I see brown people being white. Like where I've gone, the brown people are there, but they're so white that you can't tell that they're brown minus the skin pigments. But here is they're literally trying to establish their own community in here. So I don't know, like it's really interesting to see because I feel like I haven't seen Canada at all, and I haven't been to Vancouver, I've been to Quebec, Montreal. I love Quebec, but I haven't seen it or lived there. So I really want to know what it's like. I feel like I'm living in a bubble in Mississauga.
Well, so I'm right there with you. Like I've been to Quebec, but I haven't been anywhere else in Canada. I've been to the U.S., I've been to Mexico, but beyond that, no, that's pretty much it. But Quebec, like even going to Quebec, it's almost like a completely different lifestyle and culture too, because like you go to places like old Quebec City and old Montreal, and like it's like cobblestone streets and all these other things, and it's really
beautiful.
it's beautiful. And then you go out to
Europe.
to where my family lives. They live out in the rural areas where it's all farmland and wide open green spaces, mountains and stuff. It's beautiful. But I would like my dad used to travel. I used to be like a traveling salesman, so he'd go all across Canada. Other than the Yukon and Nunavut and all those places,
That's
obviously.
the lifestyle I want to know about.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I really want to know like what is
They take a plane to go to the store. It's true.
I know. And
no
like
roads.
their closest like bank is like 200 kilometers away.
Yeah.
And it's like I really want to know what's the lifestyle like what's the day to day. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Like what do they do from morning till night? Because
Go ahead.
because I mean, like you I'm sure you have fishing and stuff up there, but like other than that, what
Everything
really
else has to come on a plane or a boat, but like literally day-to-day stuff that you take for granted up there, I know it has to come in from an actual special cargo. So it's really interesting, which actually reminds me that we totally missed the part about Black Panther that we really want to talk about, which is the socio-political part of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Circling back to that, so I feel like it's really important for Black Panther to be out there. First of all, the arguments that are made for and against it, I won't get into because I don't want to stir up anything. You know, I'm not extremely well versed in all that.
Yeah.
But it's just good to see. One thing that I loved about Black Panther is that they did have a diversity in cast. They did have the one white guy. Now,
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. He was really good in the movie. But besides the name that they give, which is a colonizer, they don't do anything extremely racial to push him away from them. You know what I mean? Like I feel like in the recent strain of movies with a lot of like Chris Rock and all, like Kevin Hart especially.
Yeah.
And every time they're in a movie, they will purposely say, "Oh, like because I'm black." Like they have scripting written by a white guy.
Yeah.
That says, "Oh, is it because I'm black?" You know what I mean? Like
it's very
they
interesting.
Bring that attention, and it's really weird that they're doing that.
It's funny because like you'll see that in white movies, quote unquote, that the black stereotype is very accentuated, and then in quote unquote black movies, the white stereotype is very accentuated, where it's like a man and a woman, and and they're very uptight, and like, oh, let's go play tennis in the backyard.
Like it's very preppy.
Look at our Negro neighbors, honey. Like it. Very, very like and it's interesting, but to bring it back to Black Panther, I do agree with you that there is a lot of racial and political undertones in the movie, but it doesn't feel heavy-handed. It doesn't feel like they're shoving it down your throats. Yeah, and that's the one thing. The one thing I had a complaint against Hollywood was that like there was a lot of news about how the black people who play roles in the movies. For example, when it comes to horror or survival movies, they're the first ones to die. Like that was huge. Or they're like the comic relief or something. But like like Jumanji is the biggest example of it, where Kevin Hart would purposely accentuate his blackness for part of the comedy. So like, it's good to see Black Panther then go at racism, or not racism, but like addressing a different race. Yeah.
without addressing it. So I love the fact that no one's actually going, "Oh, whitey over there." You know what I mean? Like it's not.
And for most of the movie, Killmonger was actually working with Claw, who was South African, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but still very white.
And
like, there's no mistaking. It was Andy Serkis, who did Gollum for Lord of the Rings and King Kong and Caesar from Planet of the Apes. Oh. So kind of rare to see him in his own form with his own face.
Yeah.
But I think he did a really good job. He was also in Age of Ultron, which I did not remember.
Really?
Yes, that's how he lost his arm.
Oh,
Ultron ripped off his
I
arm.
remember that.
Yeah.
The one little bit about Black Panther.
Yes, he was trying to sell the vibranium
or something, right? Yeah, yeah.
So that was an interesting tie-in. But yeah, it's very interesting.
So that's the racism or the racial thing I want to highlight about Black Panther is that there isn't any, and they do that on purpose. I think to just not kind of make it an evil playing.
Yeah,
like that's how it should be. Like if you have a black person in a movie, or you have an Asian person, or you have a brown person, don't point it out. Don't point and laugh. Basically, you know what I mean? Like that's huge. Show it with grace.
Show, don't tell. Like you don't need to like make it so obvious. And, and that's the good thing is that they didn't say, like, they did state that black people were struggling and stuff in the movie, but they didn't blame it on any specific race. They didn't say, oh, these white people coming in trying to take over. They just said colonizers, people who are oppressing them. Like, they didn't specify who. They didn't say cops. They didn't say whites. They didn't say Hispanics. They didn't marginalize any or try to focus on any specific group. It was very general, and I think that's one of the things that made Killmonger a very sympathetic villain. Is that all he's really trying to do is stop the black struggle.
Yeah,
he was trying to make things better for his people, not just Wakandans, but black people
in general,
overall.
And the other thing that I really liked about it is. The women empowerment. I felt that was really huge on it. There wasn't any mention of it that because they're women, blah 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 blah. It was just literally his whole army is women, and it's not that that's only a women army, but it's just that
the women were tougher.
There's men and women, and they don't say, "Oh, you're in the army, you're a woman." Like there's no mention of it. They're just badass women. They're just doing their their regular thing. It's not. I felt like Wonder Woman was good in that sense as well, but there were some parts of it that kind of really take away from it. Like, if you live in an all-woman planet, that's not empowering. Like, it's literally showing that you're with men side by side, but you're just naturally
it's ostracizing. Like, it's creating a bigger divide. It's not really
You're saying that women are strong if there's only women, like what I mean? Like,
exactly.
But in this one, they're showing that women are fighting alongside men. But in fact, on the contrary, there's more women fighting because they're stronger, and they're actually like, there's nothing about their feminism. There's nothing about them being women or emotional or anything stereotypical you would hear. So it's good to see they just naturally walk on the camera. They're being badass, and you're like, okay. And there's no mention of it being like, oh look, I'm a woman in an army. There's nothing like that. You know what I mean? It's not blatant or shameless. It's just really cool. So I feel like that kind of hit all. If you have a checklist and you're trying to hit all the checklists that you want to be diverse, you want to be gender neutrality, you want to do all these things. Yeah, do it with grace. And I think Black Panther really shows that. So I'm really happy to see how they've made that movie.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is that I didn't feel like I was going to see a quote unquote black movie. Yeah, I felt like I was just going to see a film. Yeah, and it had those undertones, but it wasn't so prevalent. And I know people will argue with me on this and say, yes, Black Panther is very much a black movie. But I don't feel that just because, your cast is all black, that it's what's termed or what I'm quoting as a black movie, where they're specifically trying to shove in your face, like, blackness is good and et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that that's what they're trying to get at.
I mean, considering before this, the only black movies you would have would be, like, Straight Outta Compton. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And those... So, without getting too much into depth, I'm saying that movies like Straight Outta Compton and
they're great.
Notorious and All Eyes on Me, the Tupac movie, they're empowering in their own way, but they're very specific. Like, they're saying that it's great what these people did, but they're not really making a commentary on, any kind of a change or any kind of anything like that. Yeah. It's very much Hollywood. It's very much for entertainment and stuff. But I don't think that that's the right kind of.
And I think I may be overstepping my boundaries, so apologies in advance.
And I'll cut this out later.
Yeah, exactly, post production. But I feel like they need, like for black people, it's good to have diverse ranges. Like Get Out was the first horror movie You know what I mean? Like so it's good to kind of like break out of the range, because whenever you watch a Hollywood-based black movie, they're a rapper or they're, you know what I mean? Like that's the only role that they play in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a new role for them, like a superhero or a regular guy, like you know, just different faces of, because it's not all like that, and those who are not part of the culture that shouldn't be the only way they know them.
And it's interesting because now there are some exceptions to that, of course, like Spike Lee. A lot of his movies, they don't focus on black people who are rappers. Like they focus on black people who are in either everyday jobs or just don't fit into that stereotype.
Tyler Perry.
But a lot of the stuff, like Tyler Perry,
is
a whole other thing. Like that's its own category in itself. But I get what you're saying. Where like a lot of black movies, and now again, I need to stress that when I say black movies, I'm not saying that in a racist way or anything like that. I'm simply saying that movies that people would associate with black people or black culture, or primarily have a black cast, or have a significant or well-known black director. But basically with those kinds of black movies, a lot of the times their characters, like it's so stereotypical, like, yo, damn, shit, dog, that is whack, like the way they talk. And like in a way, I'm sure it's meant to reflect reality, like the reality of wherever they're in, like Straight Outta Compton. That's how they talk. Yeah. And Boys in the Hood. What's the other one? Menace to Society. All those kinds of movies. It was meant to show like that's how they really talk in those ghettos and those areas and those parts of the city. But to me, it's like what I like is black directors or black movies that kind of break that stereotype and just have a middle-class black man in an everyday situation, or just as a normal guy. And like I feel like Idris Elba and Morris Chestnut are in a lot of those types of movies where they're just average, everyday, hardworking black guy in an office job, like not saying damn baby shit, that's whack, you know. And to me that's a lot more down to earth to me, because like when I go out in society and stuff and I walk around, like not every black person I know talks like damn shit, dog, that's whack, yo. Like, but like black people have office jobs and they're just like us. They speak with perfect English. They're dignified. They don't use slang and things like that. So I mean, I get what they're going for, but I don't feel like it needs to be in every single movie. Because, like, and it's like white movies, quote unquote. Not everybody talks like this and talks about playing tennis and water polo, you know? Like, it's not so exaggerated.
It's just really a reflection of reality, which I guess is kind of ironic that we're asking for it in a movie. Like, I know. Why is it the movie so real?
Yeah, it's
well, the guy's a superhero.
But basically, like, we're on a tangent, obviously, but basically the point of all this is that we both enjoyed that while Black Panther definitely it had racial and political undertones, but it felt appropriate in the film. It didn't feel heavy-handed. It didn't feel preachy.
And it wasn't a problem that only somebody from Africa can relate to. It was like an actual... Like, you know, they're talking about their monarchy and helping those outside. Like, it's things that everyone can think about.
They could represent any minority, really. Not just black people.
And that's the thing. It's interchangeable. That's important. A lot of movies don't do that. When they pick a race or a group or an ethnicity, it's only relatable to that ethnicity. So, although I can imagine white people not necessarily liking Black Panther too much, because they're like, it's just another hero movie. Like, but us colored people are like, whoa, that's revolutionary. So...
Us white people, says Syed.
Us colored people.
But yeah, no, props to Ryan Coogler for pulling that off. And now Ryan Coogler is another great black director. He did, I believe it was Fruitvale Station, if I'm not mistaken, which was a great, fantastic movie about a shooting that took place in one of the subway stations. I can't remember what city it was in. But basically, there was a young guy who there was some kind of a disturbance on one of the subway trains. Like maybe he was fighting, maybe he was just running around with his friends, and they called the metro officers, like the subway police or whatever. Okay. This was in the U.S.
Okay.
And they held him down, like they put him to the ground, handcuffed him and stuff, and he was kind of struggling with them. And there's footage of this too. Like
Okay.
everyone was around. They were recording it on their cell phone. So the guy, they had him on the ground. He was handcuffed. He was struggling. Like, I think he said he couldn't breathe or something. And he's trying to like turn over. And one of the officers claimed that he was reaching or he was resisting or whatever. So the officer went to grab his taser to tase him, and he grabbed his gun. So instead of the taser, he grabbed the gun and he shot him in the back while he was face down, handcuffed. So he died, unfortunately. And it was caught on camera. Obviously, he was fired. He was brought up on charges, all that kind of stuff. It's really sad. Yeah, it was a sad story. It was a really sad movie. Very good. Killmonger was the guy.
Oh,
so very good movie. I would recommend anyone who hasn't seen it to watch it. It was made on a very low budget, but you can barely tell. It looks fantastic. It was acted very well.
Sorry, what's it called again?
Fruitvale Station.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So check it out. He also did Creed, the
yeah.
Son of Apollo Creed movie, in the Rocky series.
Yeah.
So
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that one.
I have never finished it. I've watched the first hour.
Is that what we should take away from it?
I keep trying to get into it, but like it's not my type of movie. It's very like macho, rah rah rah, and that's not really. Yeah.
I'm not. Sports movies to me, have never really appealed too much.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any SG sport movie that would be like, okay, that's on my top 10. Just because I haven't seen them. It's not that I followed them. I'm sure they're great movies.
No, it's the same with me. Like I like sports. I'm not really a big fan of sports in general.
Yeah.
And I know a lot. Like half of our viewer base just left because of that. But no, it's just a thing with me. Like I used to play hockey. I used to play volleyball, badminton, all that kind of stuff. So I get sports, but it doesn't interest me to watch.
I was on the basketball team until I got a computer. that was it for sports.
Yeah, that was pretty much the end of my life too.
Sports,
like,
yeah.
As soon as I got, so it's interesting. So I
got my own computer. That's it. It's over.
Yep, pretty much. That was my dungeon days where I would spend all day in the basement. But my dad first got our computer. I'm gonna have to look this up because I'm not sure when the 386 first came
I had a
out.
94 Windows 90. Windows 94 was the first computer I ever remember playing with, and I remember that because it had paint.
Oh yeah,
and I've drawn best shit of my life ever. So it was just paint. There was some games like Commander Keen and all that stuff.
Oh my god!
So,
no one's gonna know what we're talking about. But man.
Yeah.
So for me, the first computer that I had was in the very early 90s, so maybe 91 or 92.
Okay.
It was a 486. Which,
wow.
Yeah. So
I don't know what that is.
That means
DOS.
So like I'm reading up on it right now just so that I don't mess up some of the specs. But based on what I'm reading here, it says there's 50 megahertz on the CPU.
That many, eh?
50 megahertz. in comparison, we're now at like 4 gigahertz.
Yeah.
So, it was basically like a calculator CPU, but it's so it didn't even have Windows. It had DOS. So I learned MS-DOS, and then the first Windows for me was Windows 3.1. So that was, let me see when Windows. So I'm assuming Windows 95 was in 1995.
I would hope so.
So which would make sense, but 1992 was Windows 3.1.
Okay.
So that's when I first got into computing. And my dad taught me, and then 10 years later I taught my dad when he fell behind.
Circle of life.
Yeah, I know. It was how we bonded, because we don't really have a lot that we relate to because we're from two very different generations.
Right. Yeah.
But that was one thing that we always shared. We loved computers. We loved technology. So.
Yeah, I remember not doing much with it because it wasn't my computer. It was a family computer, and that was a thing. You'd have one desktop, and the whole family would use it.
I remember that.
Dial-up was a thing.
Yeah.
So if you ever picked up the phone when the internet was on, and that is one thing you have to turn the internet on.
Literally,
and then you turn it off.
And you're like 3 hours into a 5-hour download.
Yeah, and that's just a song. That's not even.
Yeah,
a
no, you're
discography.
downloading like an image of Sonic or something.
Yeah, but so that was, I didn't really have much exposure with it. It was just mostly computer games at best. I didn't do much else with it. Neopets was a thing that I was into for a while.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
MSN came in. I got my own computer very late in university.
Yeah, me too.
High school, we didn't really use laptops or anything. Like some people had it, but all of us were like,
Yeah.
just books. Which now must sound so funny to even those who were like in kindergarten.
I know, it's crazy. Like they're
They
working
have
on
laptops.
iPads
Yeah,
and
yeah.
laptops and stuff. And no, it was college before I got my first laptop.
Yeah.
Like I would always have to steal my dad's and
Although-
just play games on his.
When I got my own computer, oh god, like I downloaded everything, like discographies of like Chemical Brothers and Pink Floyd, like
those
it
are
literally
some deep cuts.
And I have music and movies that I didn't listen to because it's just never, I didn't get the time or whatever the case
Yeah.
was. I wasn't in charge of the one choosing the movies.
yeah.
So when I finally had that freedom to do so, I downloaded like gigabytes of just like everything from like the 90s onwards for music.
Yeah.
I caught up to a lot of music that a lot of people talked about, and I was like, oh, I don't know who they are, right? So
Yeah.
that 2 years after I got my computer was just me in a hole, like
Yeah.
just with the computer.
Wow.
Watching movies, watching TV shows. I watched Friends for the first time in succession. I've always seen it on TV as one episode or another. I never saw it season 1 to season 10.
Yeah, me too.
That was university. So like, yeah, it was.
Yeah. I feel
I
like
don't remember those 2 years besides media.
it's really interesting to hear about like other people's childhoods and stuff because two people from very different backgrounds end up going through very different experiences. But so I feel like that's a really good place for us to leave off. Just take a short break. I know Syed's probably itching to have a smoke right now. And the camera just died again. So we're gonna swap out the batteries. He's gonna have a smoke, and we'll see if we can come back. Maybe bang out one more episode before we have to take off. We'll see how it goes.
To the
But-
2 people who are listening and watching, thank you.
We'll see. We will hopefully be back in about 20 minutes. But if not, we will see you as soon as possible the next time we can do this. So thank you for anyone who's watching this later on, anyone who is watching it live. Hopefully we'll have one more episode to get for you. Maybe not as long as this one.
And we
but
promise to work on our content.
so next episode, which maybe in just 20 minutes, we'll start off with childhood. So we'll talk about, how his childhood was, how my childhood was. We'll touch briefly on that. And we'll see where that takes us. So thanks, guys.
Thank
Take
you. See you soon.